Chapter 1774. When Lin Tian heard Ai Yao Yao's words, he could not help but be moved. In the past, he had thought that in front of the human king, all other practitioners seemed very weak. He did not expect Ai Yao Yao to give such an answer based on her past memories. In front of the human king, all practitioners were as weak as infants. Then what kind of person is he? His eyes flickered slightly. He had never met the human king, but after hearing about the human king time and time again, he could not help but feel a sense of yearning for this person whom he had never met before. As he thought about this, he suddenly remembered another matter. What were those eyes of his from before? Is there a type of eye with 9 black moons intertwined? He asked Ai Yao Yao. Not long ago, when he was at the Fey tribe, he suddenly awakened a pair of special eyes. He could still vaguely remember what those eyes looked like, but he did not know what they were. Now that he was facing Ai Yao Yao, the reincarnation of an ancient water god, who still had remnants of her past memories, he wondered if she knew something about those eyes. Don't ask me that. Ai Yao Yao rolled her eyes. I already said that I only have some vague memories. Although I know that there are a few terrifying eye techniques, I don't have any impression of what those divine eyes look like. Lin Tian was somewhat disappointed. All right. As he spoke, he shook his head, temporarily not thinking about this matter. His delusionary eyes scanned the desert, and at the same time, the dragon patterns on the soles of his feet also spread out in all directions. Why are you standing here without moving? Ai Yao Yao asked, observing the terrain. Lin Tian Dao. He looked ahead, and after a few dozen breaths, a sharp light suddenly flashed in his eyes. Seeing him like this, Wuxing Crocodile immediately asked, "What did you find?" There is a strange reaction in an area. If there is any treasure in this desert, it should be there. Lin Tian Dao. As he spoke, he immediately led the way, and the group of people headed in the direction of the anomaly. This desert was extremely vast. Lin Tian led the way at the front. In the blink of an eye, a full hour had passed. At this time, an old forest suddenly appeared in front of them. Most of the trees in the forest had withered, and there was a trace of cold aura floating in the air. It's here? Ling Yun asked Lin Tian. Yes, the fluctuations are coming from here. Lin Tian nodded. After arriving at this place, the peculiar fluctuations he felt were even more obvious. He directly led the group in. As soon as they stepped into the old forest, they couldn't help but feel a chill on their skin. Lin Tian didn't say much. He called out to the group and headed in the direction of the strange fluctuation he sensed. Not long after, the group of people walked quite a distance. Boom! At this moment, the ground suddenly trembled. The ground cracked inch by inch, and wisps of black chi rushed up. Underground, a strange beast covered in black scales raised its head. Just its pupils alone were the size of wash basins, and they flickered with a bloodthirsty luster. It charged up and directly pounced towards Lin Tian and the others. As this strange beast charged up, its body was completely revealed. It was like a moving mountain. It was very huge, and the demonic chi it emitted was also very terrifying. Lin Tian raised his hand and directly slapped it. Bang! The strange beast was sent flying, and it let out a miserable cry. It rolled for a few thousand feet away, and then there was no more movement. The group of people wasn't surprised by this, and their expressions were normal. After all, although that strange beast wasn't weak, it was only comparable to an early-stage immortal king. With Lin Tian's current strength, it was naturally very easy to deal with such a strange beast. The group of people didn't change their pace at all. Soon, they walked for more than 30,000 feet. Suddenly, a huge sand valley appeared in front of them. There was blue mist lingering inside, intertwined with faint immortal chi. It's in there? Lin Tian Dao. Immediately, the group of people stepped into it. The blue mist blocked their vision, and the visibility was very low. Even with the group of experts, after stepping into the sand valley, they could only see things within 3 meters at most. My vision is limited, and my divine sense is also useless. I can't detect anything. Ai Yao Yao frowned. Follow behind me. I'll lead the way. Lin Tian Dao. Although the blue mist was very extraordinary and could block vision and divine sense, it didn't affect him at all with the delusion breaker divine eye. At this time, he could see everything in the sand valley very clearly. His footsteps were steady as he led the group forward. "Oh, your eyes are quite useful sometimes," and I Yao Yao said. "Not bad." Lin Tiandao. He walked at the front, and soon an entire hour had passed. At this time, the blue mist in front of them became even more dense, and an invisible barrier appeared, blocking the group's advance. The special fluctuation that he sensed happened to be emitted by this invisible barrier. It was a natural barrier. It's a very powerful natural barrier. "I can't open it." And I Yao Yao frowned. She was the reincarnation of the water god and had the immortal derivation bloodline. She was ranked 7th on the 100 Immortals ranking and could kill early-stage true gods without any effort. But now she couldn't break the natural barrier here. If you can't break it, it means that it's very powerful. Since there's such a powerful natural barrier here, then there must be something extraordinary on the other side of the barrier. White Tiger said, his eyes shining. "Stupid Tiger, you're right." Whooshing Crocodile nodded in agreement. Ling Yun was the most direct. He said to Lin Tiandao, "Kid, hurry up and break it." The barrier here was extremely powerful, and even peak true gods might not be able to break it. However, he knew that Lin Tianyi would definitely be able to break it because Lin Tian controlled the dragon burial scripture and was very good at dealing with the power of nature. Lin Tian nodded and didn't say anything else. He formed a seal with his bare hands, and dense dragon patterns intertwined in the center of his right palm. Then, they condensed into a special dragon seal and pressed it toward the natural barrier. The dragon seal landed on the natural barrier and made a soft sound. Then, the entire barrier suddenly faded and dissipated. "Your technique is not bad," and I Yao Yao was a little moved. With her current cultivation level that was infinitely close to the true god realm, it was difficult for her to shake that natural barrier even with her full strength. However, Lin Tian broke it so easily, and she couldn't help but be surprised. "It's okay. Let's go." Lin Tiandao. As he spoke, he led the group and stepped behind the natural barrier. Behind the natural barrier, there was still a lot of blue mist. Not long after, a celestial lotus appeared in front of him. Its leaves were blue and intertwined with blue mist. At the very center was a rather large lotus platform with dozens of lotus seeds. Every single lotus seed was intertwined with an extremely astonishing aura of immortal Tao and life. It was like the crystallization of immortal Tao and life. Illusory Divine Real Lotus. Chapter 1775. The illusionary god Real Lotus was an immortal treasure born from the nourishment of the highest level of immortal Qi and Tao radiance. The lotus seeds on the lotus platform contained extremely dense immortal Qi and Tao radiance. It was extremely valuable to any cultivator below the half-step true god realm. A total of 35 lotus seeds. "We've struck it rich this time." Whooshing Crocodile was pleasantly surprised. Lin Tian's eyes lit up as well. This illusionary god, Real Lotus, was enough to greatly improve their cultivation. Of course, Nai Yao Yao was an exception. After all, she was infinitely close to the true god realm. The illusionary god, Real Lotus, was useless to her. "I feel like I've made a wasted trip." Nai Yao Yao rolled her eyes. "Then I'm really sorry." Lin Tian smiled. However, he knew that Nai Yao Yao didn't mind at all. White Tiger's eyes lit up as he stared at the illusionary god Real Lotus in front of him. Or rather, he was staring at the lotus seeds. "Refine them," Lin Tian said. Then he turned to little Taichu and Nai Yao Yao and said, "I'll have to trouble you to protect us." Nai Yao Yao was infinitely close to the true god realm and had no use for the illusionary god Real Lotus. As for little Taichu, he had the primordial immortal world that the immortal spirit emperor had placed in his body. Other treasures were nothing to him. Now, the illusionary god Real Lotus seeds were only useful to him by Ziki, Yangqi, Fan Ingxiong, Ling Yun, Whooshing Crocodile, and the White Tiger. "Yeah." Little Taichu responded to Lin Tian in a childish voice. He immediately flew up into the sky and looked around. "Don't worry," an Ai Yao Yao said. Although she didn't move, her eyes were also looking around. In fact, this place was a huge desert. Generally speaking, no one would come here. Lin Tian nodded at an Ai Yao Yao. He took 35 lotus seeds and distributed them equally to everyone except an Ai Yao Yao and little Tai Chu. Then, he sat down cross-legged with Bai Ziki and the rest to refine the lotus seeds. In an instant, different kinds of divine and demonic radiance appeared and intertwined with each other. Buzz! Lin Tian channeled the Heart Sutra of Sun, and golden divine light immediately gushed out of his body. His essence, chi, and spirit surged. It didn't take long for his spiritual energy to reach the peak of his cultivation base. He then took out a few seeds of the treasure lotus, consumed them, and began to refine them. As he swallowed the lotus seed and began to refine it, his essence, energy, and spirit immediately rose. His aura became much stronger in the blink of an eye. Based on this situation, it shouldn't be a problem for him to reach the peak of the Immortal King realm, an Ai Yao Yao muttered to herself. In an unknown location, within an ancient mountain, 3 figures were gathered together. Their bodies were surrounded by extraordinary auras. Lan Tianjin, what's so important? Speak. It was the next realm lord of the world of souls, the 9th on the ranking of 100 immortals, Yi Shang. Beside him, another black-clothed man had a cold look in his eyes. He was the 8th on the ranking of 100 immortals, Yuan Yunfu. The third person was Lan Tianjin, ranked 10th on the ranking of 100 immortals. Very important. It's about the primordial pagoda. Lan Tianjin narrowed his eyes. Yi Shang and Yuan Yunfu's eyes lit up when they heard what they said. "What do you want to say?" Yuan Yunfu asked in a deep voice. Lan Tianjin smiled sinisterly. "The 3 of us will work together to seize Lin Tian's primordial pagoda. Then we'll split the primordial pagoda and turn it back into primordial chi. We'll use it to forge our own origin divine weapons. Is it that easy to seize it?" Yi Shang said coldly. Lin Tian was already very strong. He had little Tai Chu by his side, and he was also somewhat related to Ai Yao Yao, ranked 7th on the ranking of 100 immortals. With these 3 experts working together, it was impossible to seize the primordial pagoda from Lin Tian. Under normal circumstances, it's naturally not easy to seize it. So, didn't I ask you to come? With the strength of the 3 of us and some special means, it won't be difficult to kill him and seize the zone pagoda. Lan Tianjin smiled sinisterly. "You have a plan?" Yi Shang frowned. On the other side, Yuan Yunfu also looked at Lan Tianjin. "Of course." Lan Tianjin smiled sinisterly. "I'm quite confident in my own mind. It won't be difficult to scheme against Lin Tian." "Is that so? Then you've asked us to come together. Are you also plotting against us in the process?" Yi Shang said coldly. He had heard a lot about Lan Tianjin. He was a very sinister person. Yuan Yunfu also looked at Lan Tianjin. "Don't worry. We can set up an equal soul contract. Before we successfully seize the primordial pagoda and divide it equally, no one is allowed to do anything that could threaten the other 2. In this way, none of us will have to worry about being plotted against." Lan Tianjin said. Yi Shang and Yuan Yunfu frowned. After a while, they looked at each other and nodded at Lan Tianjin. For experts of their level, there were not many treasures that could tempt them. Treasures forged from primordial heavenly crystals were one of these few treasures. Moreover, it was very tempting to them. Not to mention them, even god kings, god emperors, and god emperors would be moved if they saw it. Immediately, the 3 of them cast their arts and set up an equal soul contract. Before the 3 of them successfully seized the primordial pagoda and divided it equally, no one was allowed to do anything that could threaten the other 2. "All right, the contract is established." Lan Tianjin smiled sinisterly. "Before this, do you know any of that person's weaknesses? Tell me any small weakness, and I will correct and complete my plan." Yuan Yunfu said, "I don't know." A faint light flashed through Yi Shang's eyes. As a cultivator, he even cares about the lives of mortals. Does that count? Lan Tianjin was a little surprised. In this era, immortal kings actually cared about the lives of mortals? Then he paused and narrowed his eyes. Perhaps this is a very good weakness. Dongxian Province, Eastern Desert, Buzz. In a valley in the Eastern Desert, Lin Tian, Bai Ziki, and the others were refining the seeds of the illusory God-true lotus. All kinds of divine light and demonic light intertwined in this place. Just like that, a month passed in the blink of an eye. Boom, boom, boom. On this day, waves of powerful divine energy surged. Bai Ziki, Ling Yun, White Tiger, Wuxing Crocodile, and Yang Qi had all stepped into the Immortal King realm. Beside them, Fanning Xiong had reached the peak of the half-step Immortal King realm. He was not far from the Immortal King realm. We've finally reached the Immortal King realm. It's like the difference between heaven and earth compared to the heavenly immortal realm. Wuxing Crocodile was a little excited. Awesome. White Tiger was also very excited. Bai Ziki, Yang Qi, and the others silently felt their current strength and began to stabilize their cultivation base. Then another half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Half a month later, Bai Ziki and the others stabilized their current realms, and their realms became extremely firm. It was also at this moment that there was a boom. Golden divine light shot into the sky from Lin Tian's body, and a majestic, immortal pressure spread out. The next moment he opened his eyes. Peak of the Immortal King realm, he muttered to himself. Chapter 1776. Dazzling golden light interweaved around him. Lin Tian opened his eyes, and as his eyes flashed, the entire space trembled. He clenched his fists and could clearly feel that he had become much stronger. His physique had become stronger. His divine sense had become more astonishing. His divine sense had become more robust, and the divine power in his body had also become more vigorous. It was as if it was a roiling ocean. Good, he muttered to himself, and a bright light flashed through his eyes. Brat Grandpa Tiger has also reached the Celestial King tier. Beside him, the White Tiger clicked its tongue, as if it was showing off something. Lin Tian looked at it. In the next instant, a ray of light silently descended from the sky and directly imprisoned it within. The White Tiger struggled with all its might, but it was directly unable to move. In fact, it could not even circulate its divine power anymore. F***ck, it cursed loudly. At the same time, it was somewhat speechless. The difference in battle prowess between itself and Lin Tian was practically like the difference between heaven and earth. The difference was too great. Lin Tian could not help but laugh loudly, and just in time, he dispersed the divine light that enveloped the White Tiger, allowing it to regain its ability to move. Fight around with me. A flash of light flashed through Bai Ziki's eyes, and he stepped forward to face Lin Tiandao. A majestic celestial king tear, might interweaved around his body, and strands of lightning crackled. Forget it, brother-in-law. It's not like you don't know Brat Lin's actual situation. In the situation where you are 3 minor levels lower than Brat Lin, if the two of you really fought, you would purely be beaten up, and there would not be any other outcome. Wuxing Crocodile rolled its eyes. Bai Ziki raised an eyebrow, but did not say anything, because Wuxing Crocodile's words were indeed very reasonable. Not only was Lin Tian's physique stronger than his, but his cultivation was also 3 minor levels higher than his. Now he was really not a match for him. Lin Tianyi smiled and said, "Let me first consolidate my cultivation level." The illusionary god, True Lotus, could be considered an extraordinary, immortal treasure. However, the increase in cultivation from refining such an item was ultimately not as stable as the increase in cultivation from relying on one's own cultivation. Therefore, he had to spend some time to consolidate his cultivation. At that moment, he circulated the Sun Heart Sutra in this place. Golden light flashed outside his body again and gradually became stronger. His essence, energy, and spirit gradually became absorbed from the extremely strong at the beginning along with the strands of ripples. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. A month later, the golden divine light radiating from his body became extremely gentle. His essence, chi, and spirit became extremely stable. His cultivation base at the peak stage of the immortal king realm was completely stabilized. Done. He opened his eyes again and stood up. He stood up and scanned the group with his divine perception. He discovered that other than Fanning Xiong, who was at the half-step Celestial King realm, the others had already reached the Celestial King realm. "Are we going back to the Imperial Courtyard now?" he asked. "It's time to go back." And Yao Yao said, "The Lord Theological Seminary seems to have found an ancient site. In roughly half a month's time, the Imperial Courtyard disciples will be allowed to enter and train." The fact that the Lord Theological Seminary had found an ancient site and would allow the Imperial Courtyard disciples to enter and train was no longer a big secret. Many of the disciples in the academy already knew about it. Speaking of which, what kind of ancient site is it exactly? Ling Yin asked. And Yao Yao said, "I heard that it's the family tomb of an extinct ancient clan. It's not just one tomb, but a group of tombs. There might even be the tomb of a godly king realm expert. Naturally, there will be many shocking burial items." Then, she added, "Of course, it's also very dangerous. After all, there are many evil beings in the group of tombs." Ancient clan tomb? There are even tombs of godly king realm experts? Hearing this, the group could not help but feel a little surprised. "That's what I heard." And Yao Yao said, "Then let's return to the Lord Theological Seminary and make preparations. After that, we'll go to the ancient site." Lin Tian said. Then, he looked at Yao Yao and asked, "Are you coming with us? Are you inviting me?" And Yao Yao looked at him and blinked her eyes playfully. At the same time, she looked somewhat charming. "Of course." Lin Tian smiled. And Yao Yao smiled again and said, "Then let's go together." "Okay." Lin Tian nodded. Immediately, the group left this place and returned to the Lord Theological Seminary not long after. Walking in the Lord Theological Seminary, there were many Imperial Courtyard disciples coming and going. At this time, when they looked at Lin Tian, they were all whispering to each other. Lin Tian did not pay much attention to them. Together with Bai Ziki, Fanning Xiong, Ling Yun, and the others, they quickly arrived at the residence in the Imperial Courtyard. When they arrived, a man in black stood outside their residence. Half of his arm was bare, and he gave off a wild feeling. Meanwhile, other disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary gathered around him. They all stood far away and looked at this place. "Lin Tian?" Before Lin Tian could speak, the man in black spoke first. His eyes were aggressive and had a strong sense of aggression. "Who are you?" Lin Tian said coldly. The other party's attitude was very different. The other party's gaze made him very uncomfortable. He knew that this person did not have good intentions. Qiu Qima, third on the ranking of 100 immortals. 5 elements constitution. He is very domineering, and Yao Yao said from the side. After a pause, she added, "With my current strength, even 7 of me together would not be a match for him." Hearing her words, Whooshing Crocodile, Bai Ziki, and the others could not help but be moved. The person in front of them actually had a king constitution and was ranked 3rd on the ranking of 100 immortals. 7 of the current Yao Yao together would not be a match for this person. One should know that Yao Yao was ranked 7th on the ranking of 100 immortals. Her strength was very strong. 7 of such strong Yao Yao together could not stop Qiu Qima. Then, how strong was this person? 5 elements constitution? Lin Tiantan looked at Qiu Qima and narrowed his eyes. A cold light flashed in his eyes. "Get out of my sight immediately and scram as far as you can." Back in the 10 Heavens domain, an old drunkard found the remnant soul of his true love and found the weak water essence to help. There was once a 5 elements king constitution family who wanted to snatch an old drunkard's weak water essence. At that time, although the 5 elements king constitution was easily killed by an old drunkard, and although Qing Xian had been reborn, he was still very unhappy with that 5 elements constitution family. After that, he did not have a good impression of the other 5 elements constitution family members. Now, Qiu Qima was standing in front of him. Not only was it because of the 5 elements constitution, but it was obvious that he did not have good intentions. Naturally, he would not have a good attitude towards the other party. This person, although I knew that he was very strong, I did not expect him to be so strong. He actually told Chima to scram as far as possible. Really, that's the third on the ranking of 100 immortals. He is not someone that Lan Tianjin and the others can compare to. Chapter 1777. Hearing Lin Tian's words, Chima couldn't help but narrow his eyes. His eyes were like sharp swords, as if they could pierce through everything between heaven and earth, giving off an extremely sharp and threatening aura. He looked at Lin Tian and stretched out his hand. Primordial Pagoda, hand it over, and I'll spare your life. His eyes were frightening with a kind of wildness. Hand it over to your mother. Get the hell out of here. Before Lin Tian could speak, Whooshing Crocodile said coldly. This person was actually in the imperial courtyard, waiting outside their residence, and asking Lin Tian for the immortal Emperor Pagoda. It was really infuriating. Chima tilted his head and looked at Whooshing Crocodile. Two rays of divine light shot out from his eyes, slashing out like killing swords. For a moment, the void in all directions immediately shattered, and a destructive aura intertwined in all directions. It was obviously a killing move. Directly killing. Isn't he afraid of being punished? That crocodile demon isn't an imperial courtyard disciple. Even if Chima kills it, he won't worry about being punished by the imperial courtyard. This seems to be the case. Many people said. A sonorous sound rang out. In the blink of an eye, Chima's two rays of light came in front of Whooshing Crocodile. His speed was extremely fast, and his aura was even more terrifying. It contained an aura that seemed to be able to instantly shatter a true god. Lin Tian raised his hand and directly slapped down, shattering the two rays of sword light that Chima had pierced through. His eyes turned cold. Do you want to die? Chima's eyes were cold, and with a kind of cruelty and arrogance, he looked at Lin Tian Dao. Primordial Pagoda, hand it over. As he said this, it was as if he was asking for something of his own. His strong and domineering personality was apparent at a glance. Lin Tian stepped back and directly walked out of the Lord Theological Seminary. Come and get it yourself. His movements were simple, but his speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he had walked out of the imperial courtyard. This action made many disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary stare. He walked out of the imperial courtyard again. Does this mean that Chima should go out and fight? Other than that, what else could it be? Many people were shocked. Not long ago, Lin Tian had just left the Lord Theological Seminary and fought against Yi Yinshang, revealing the Primordial Pagoda, causing Lan Tianjin and Yuan Yunfu to fight over it. Who would have thought that not long after, Lin Tian would leave the imperial courtyard and fight someone again? Moreover, this time, it was Chima who was ranked third on the ranking of 100 immortals. He was stronger than 7 or 8 Yi Yinshang combined. Chima looked at Lin Tian's actions and sneered, "You're courting death." With that, he stepped out of the Lord Theological Seminary and threw a punch at Lin Tian. Dong! A rumbling sound rang out. This punch wasn't just a simple punch of physical strength. It also contained the power of the 5 elements. It was the unique aura of the 5 elements king physique, and it was enough to compare to the most powerful divine ability of a sect. Lin Tian did not say anything superfluous. He raised his hand and threw out a Chaos Emperor fist. In the blink of an eye, the two fists collided. With a crackling sound, the surrounding space shattered and exploded. The two fists were evenly matched. That Lin Tian, he blocked Chima's 5 elements fist? This? Many cultivators in the Lord Theological Seminary were shocked. Chima had the 5 elements king body and was ranked third on the ranking of 100 immortals. Although he had not stepped into the true immortal realm, he was almost there. The 5 elements fist was extremely terrifying, but now it was blocked. Even an Yao could not help but be moved. That Chima not only has the 5 elements king body, but it is also said that he once found a jar of legendary phoenix blood in an ancient ruin. His physique is also incomparably strong and is not the slightest bit inferior to the brute king body. But now, in a duel of fist techniques, he is actually not the least bit inferior. She looked at Lin Tian with a face full of shock. In terms of physique, no one in the same realm is stronger than Lin Tian. If that bastard Qiu's realm was not higher, he would have been smashed by Lin Tian. Ling Yun said. He knew that Lin Tian was the reincarnation body. Even if Qiu Qianma had the 5 elements king body and refined his body with phoenix blood in terms of physical strength, he could not compare with Lin Tian in the same realm. So powerful? Why? And Yao Yao was curious when she heard Ling Yun's words. In the same realm, no matter how strong someone was, their physique could not compare with Lin Tian's? Because Brother Lin is special, Fanning Xiong said honestly. That's right. Ling Yun smiled. And Yao Yao was already considered a comrade. However, they would not casually tell Yao Yao that Lin Tian was the reincarnation body. After all, the reincarnation body was very important. Wuxing Crocodile looked outside the Lord Theological Seminary and looked at Qiu Qianma. He was very unhappy. After a pause, he said, "Brothers, get ready. Find a chance to rush out and fight one-on-one." Rush out and fight one-on-one? What do you mean? And Yao Yao was confused. Wuxing Crocodile sneered. Let's fight a group of people and fight that bastard Qiu Qianma. And Yao Yao could not help but open her mouth when she heard its words. This was called a one-on-one? White Tiger, on the other hand, chuckled. I like one-on-one fights like this. That's a good idea. Ling Yun smiled sinisterly. He stared at Qiu Qianma, who was constantly exchanging punches with Lin Tian outside the Lord Theological Seminary. Naturally, he was very unhappy. Yeah, little Tai Chu waved its little paw, indicating that it was in agreement. Bai Ziki, Yang Qi, and the others did not say anything, but they did not object either. They were all old friends and comrades from the same region. One person's enemy was everyone's enemy. Dong! 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 Outside the Lord Theological Seminary, the sound of fists colliding could be heard continuously. Lin Tian and Qiu Qianma's fists collided, shaking the void in all directions. Spatial turbulence and chaotic light overflowed. In terms of pure fist force, the two of them were completely evenly matched. Very good, not weak. This way, killing you and taking the primordial pagoda will be valuable, Qiu Qianma said coldly. He raised his hand again, and the 5 elements fist came down. Lin Tian's movements were simple. He waved the Chaos Emperor fist, and the power of the fist burst out. Bang! 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 Their fists collided again and again, causing the surrounding void to cave in and shatter inch by inch. Lin Tian's eyes were cold, but he was a little moved. This Qiu Qianma had not reached the true God realm, but he was actually able to compete with him in terms of fist force. This really surprised him. However, this surprise only lasted for a moment. The next moment, he returned to normal and was no longer surprised. After all, the other party was ranked 3rd on the ranking of 100 immortals. If he did not have such strength, it would not be normal. Buzz! He held up the 4-symbol seal, and the silver light intertwined, enveloping all directions. At the same time, he activated the Chaos Emperor Fist and the 5 Thunder Skies shaking art. Purple lightning intertwined and fell from the sky, mercilessly striking at the other party. Not bad. Not bad at all, Qiu Qianma sneered. His hair danced wildly, and he was like a war demon. He held up the vision in his sea of consciousness and used several other powerful divine arts, shining brightly in all directions. Chapter 1778. The silver, 4-symbol seal contained the power of the Annihilation Seal, while the purple, 5 heaven-shaking lightning spell was oppressive. It directly covered the space in all directions and mightily pressed down on Qiu Qianma. At the same time, Qiu Qianma's sea of consciousness and other divine techniques met the attack. The two techniques collided in the blink of an eye. All of a sudden, with a boom, everything in the surroundings exploded, directly sweeping up a huge storm. Good, good, good. You're not weaker than I thought. You're worth killing. Qiu Qinma sneered. Lin Tian's expression was cold. He took a step forward and directly propped up the reincarnation portrait. He did not want to waste time with Qiu Qinma. With the appearance of the reincarnation portrait, with a boom, a divine and holy aura surged, directly illuminating the space in all directions. Qiu Qinma narrowed his eyes slightly. Facing this portrait, he actually felt a trace of pressure. Interesting, he sneered. In the next moment, with a boom, 5 realm-like great worlds propped up behind him. 5 different immortal dais of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth flashed in them, intertwining with an astonishing 5 elemental aura, as if it could suppress everything. This is the Avalon of 5 elements? The king's region of the 5 elements sovereign physique. That Qiu Qinma directly propped up the king's region. This aura, really, in the Lord Theological Seminary, the imperial courtyard disciples were moved. Qiu Qinma, the 5 elements sovereign physique, ranked 3rd on the 100 Immortals ranking, actually propped up the king's region while fighting Lin Tianyi at this time. The king's region was the most powerful technique of the sovereign physique. Die! Outside the imperial courtyard, the void rumbled. Qiu Qinma looked at Lin Tian. The Avalon of 5 elements of the king's region directly pressed down, as if 5 realm-like great worlds were pressing down. Primordial Pagoda, I will use it to its strongest extent for you. With a rumble, the 5 elements physique's terrifying aura pressed down in front of Lin Tian in the blink of an eye. The aura was imposing. Lin Tian was expressionless. He did not dodge and directly rushed forward with the reincarnation portrait. Then, in the next moment, with a whoosh, he directly passed through the 5 elements' body and arrived in front of Qiu Qinma. This scene immediately made Qiu Qinma's expression change. His king's territory was actually ineffective against Lin Tian. At the same time, the other disciples in the imperial courtyard turned pale. Previously, Yi Yinshang's innate divine ability was useless against him. Now, even the 5 elements constitution's king's territory is useless against him. What is going on? Many people were shocked, unable to understand. Outside the Lord Theological Seminary, Qiu Qinma's eyes widened. What did you do? His gaze was threatening as he questioned Lin Tian coldly. At the same time, he quickly retreated. Lin Tian's reincarnation diagram was somewhat terrifying. Didn't you want to kill me and take the tower? Why are you retreating now? Lin Tian mocked. Trash. What did you say? Qiu Qinma's eyes immediately narrowed. His gaze became even more threatening, like a ferocious beast. Trash. Lin Tian repeated. Before the reincarnation diagram dissipated, it once again pressed towards the other party. Qiu Qinma's eyes directly became extremely cruel. His black hair danced in the air, and his killing intent was overwhelming. You're courting death. With a boom, he propped up a dozen immortal Daos, and the Dao light was oppressive. At the same time, the sea of consciousness phenomenon and a dozen other divine abilities were cast together and fused together. There was even a red divine power surging out from the surface of his body, transforming into a blood phoenix. Roar! The phoenix's cry was earth-shattering. In the blink of an eye, it fused with a dozen immortal Daos, the sea of consciousness phenomenon, and a dozen other divine abilities, transforming into an even more astonishing 5-colored phoenix with monstrous immortal power. Moreover, the king's territory's Avalon of 5 elements was also propped up and fused into this 5-colored phoenix, causing its aura to become even stronger. Rumor has it that Qiu Qinma tempered his body with phoenix blood in the past and obtained some of the divine phoenix's power. Now, it seems that this is actually true. This is the power of the fusion of the 5 elements constitution and the immortal divine phoenix. In the Lord Theological Seminary, the disciples couldn't help but tremble as their hearts palpitated at the power that Qiu Qinma had displayed. At the same time, Lin Tian felt a huge threat. The power that Qiu Qinma had cast made him feel a chill down his spine. However, his expression did not change at all, and there was a divine light intertwined in his eyes. With a boom, the reincarnation diagram was activated even more strongly by him. Immediately afterwards, the nameless Tao law, thunder immortal Tao, and nature immortal Tao surged out and fused with the reincarnation diagram in the blink of an eye to form the immortal Tao reincarnation diagram. At the same time, the four-symbol seal and other divine techniques were also cast and faced the other party. In the blink of an eye, the two collided. With cracking sounds, the surrounding void collapsed, and the divine light mist drowned the place in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, there were two loud bangs and two figures were sent flying at the same time. Lin Tian was bleeding from the corners of his mouth, and half of his body was broken and dripping with blood. On the other side, Qiu Qinma was not in a better state. Half of his body had also collapsed, and his head was almost split open. He's on par with that Qiu Qinma? It hasn't been long since his battle with Yi Shang, and his battle strength has increased by so much. He's already comparable to Qiu Qinma, the third on the ranking of 100 immortals. In the Lord Theological Seminary, many Imperial Courtyard disciples were shocked. Lin Tian, you're very good. Qiu Qinma's eyes shone with a threatening light. With a low roar, he reformed his body in the blink of an eye and charged at Lin Tian again. Better than you, Lin Tian said coldly. He did not dodge and face the attack head-on. Qiu Qinma was very powerful. He had the 5 elements imperial body and had bathed in the blood of the immortal spirit divine phoenix. So his physique had become even more shocking. However, how could he be weak? He was the strongest reincarnated body. Moreover, not long ago, he had reached the peak of the Immortal King realm from the middle stage of the Immortal King realm, and his battle strength had increased again. In a situation where there was only a small gap in cultivation between them, his battle strength was definitely not weaker than his opponent's. Boom! He swung the Chaos Emperor fist, and his fist momentum was monstrous. His immortal power was shocking, and in the blink of an eye, he collided with Qiu Qinma again. With a rumbling sound, the two collided, and the surrounding void collapsed. Not long after, the battle between the two reached a white-hot stage. It was also at this time that in the Lord Theological Seminary, Wuxing Crocodile's eyes flashed with a sinister light. He sneered and said, "Brothers, let's go." As he said that, he was the first to rush out. His speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he was in the middle of the battle between Lin Tian and Qiu Qinma. He directly supported the strongest Great Five Elements art and pressed down on Qiu Qinma. At the same time, Ling Yun, Fanning Xiong, and the others moved. Bai Ziqi and Yang Qi were no exception. They all rushed out. Ling Yun, White Tiger, and Yang Qi directly supported the strange phenomenon in their sea of consciousness. With the cultivation of the Immortal King realm, they directly suppressed all directions. Boom! Soul-shaking thunder. Bai Ziqi supported the divine rumble palace of the king's region and interweaved the terrifying power of thunder. Fanning Xiong had not reached the level of an immortal king, but he had reached the half-step immortal king realm. At this time, he also activated the king's region. The immortal splitting mountain was magnificent and majestic, and it was very oppressive. "Yeah," a childish voice sounded. Little Taichu flapped his wings, and his innate divine technique, the protection of the four spirits, was supported with terrifying power. All the killing light divine techniques pressed down on Qiu Qinma together. Chapter 1779. The surging divine light was vast and mighty, and various innate divine techniques and divine abilities of the king's territory pressed down together. The aura was extremely terrifying. Qiu Qinma's expression changed immediately as he retreated quickly in shock and anger. Now that the battle between him and Lin Tian had reached its climax, he had already used up a lot of his divine power. At this moment, he felt a chill down his spine as he faced Bai Ziqi and the rest's strongest divine abilities. That group of people all rushed out. They're actually attacking Qiu Qinma together? They're all so strong. King's territory, divine roar hall. King's territory, immortal cracking mountain. There are actually two people with the king physique in their group. In the Lord Theological Seminary, the Imperial Courtyard disciples were shocked. Many of them had long known that Baiziki, who was in Lin Tianyi's group, had the Thunder God physique, but they didn't expect to see Fanning Xiong, who had the Barbarian King physique. It was a little shocking that there were two people with the king physique in their group. Outside the Lord Theological Seminary, Lin Tian was a little surprised as he didn't expect Baiziki and the rest to come out and besiege Cho Chianma. However, in the next moment, he laughed loudly. Boom! He immediately activated the Sun Heart Sutra to its limit, and the immortal Tao reincarnation diagram was once again propped up and pressed towards Cho Chianma. At the same time, the four-symbol seal, divination technique, Chaos Emperor's Fist, extreme Yin imprint, soul transformation talisman, and other grand techniques were activated as well. They transformed into a true ocean of slaughter that completely sealed off the surrounding space and caused the heavens and the earth to collapse. Cho Chianma was very strong, but he couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine when he faced the attacks of Lin Tian, Baiziki, and the rest. After all, Lin Tian and Little Taichu were not weaker than him. In addition, Baiziki had the Thunder God physique of the Immortal King realm, Yang Qi, a genius who was comparable to a king physique, Wuxing Crocodile, and the rest who were not much weaker than a king physique, and Fanning Xiong, who was a half-step Immortal King physique, had the Barbarian King physique of the Barbarian King physique of Fanning Xiong. However, under such a violent attack, no matter how fast he was, it was impossible for him to completely dodge it. Pooh! Lin Tian's Taiyin Immortal Seal landed on his chest, crushing half of his body. At the same time, within the Little Taichu's Four Spirits protection, the Immortal Phoenix Divine Shadow charged through and crashed into Cho Chianma. This time, Cho Chianma's body exploded and turned into a bloody mist. The disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary couldn't help but tremble when they saw this scene. Damn it! Cho Chianma's godly soul was not destroyed. He let out a cold roar and quickly reformed his body. Don't give him a chance to breathe. Kill him! Wuxing Crocodile shouted, and the Great Five Elements technique pressed down again. Up until now, it had also refined a lot of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, and its physique had undergone a qualitative change. It wasn't much weaker than the king physique. Using the strongest Great Five Elements technique to suppress it, even though it was only at the early stage of the Celestial King realm, its might was still very oppressive. Slash! Baiziki said in a low voice. Within the Divine Cry Palace, a thunder god stood up and pulled out a sword. The sword light was 10 feet long and seemed to be able to destroy everything. Clang! Within the vision in Yang Qi's Sea of Consciousness, countless blades flew out. They seemed real and intertwined with a very oppressive saber power. At the same time, the Little Taichu, the White Tiger, Fanning Xiong, and the others attacked one after another, each of them using their strongest killing moves. Didn't you want the pagoda? Here you go, Lin Tian said, and directly propped up the immortal Emperor Pagoda. All the divine power in his body circulated, and a monstrous primordial light erupted. This primordial light was purple and looked holy and oppressive. It was mixed with an incomparably terrifying aura, as if a tiny wisp of it was enough to crush a great world. Facing so many offensive divine abilities, Cho Chianma, who was still reforming his body, couldn't help but tremble. His voice was cold and filled with shock and anger. Using his divine soul, he quickly retreated and dodged. Lin Tianling snorted, and immediately used the Five Lightnings God domain to cover the entire area. A moment later, he appeared next to Cho Chianma and directly punched out with the Primal Chaos Emperor's fist. Boom! This punch was unleashed with his full strength, and it seemed to be able to destroy a great world. It was terrifying to the extreme. Pop! Cho Chianma's body, which had yet to fully reform, was instantly smashed into pieces and turned into a bloody mist. At the same time, he, Baiziki, and the others blasted out other divine abilities and secret techniques, directly enveloping Cho Chianma's flesh and bones. Arcs! Cho Chianma roared as he was seriously injured. With a whoosh, his divine soul was withdrawn from the divine light that filled the sky. A blue radiance surged, and in the blink of an eye, his body reformed at an astonishing speed. Moreover, his aura was also rapidly recovering, as if the injuries he had suffered before were no longer serious. Blue radiance? Could that be the Oracle's immortal scripture? It's that ancient technique, a super healing sacred technique that can make the cultivator almost indestructible. It is said that it was created by a mighty person before the Antiquity Age, and Xiao found it in an ancient site. The super healing ability of this technique can almost make Xiao invincible. It's terrifying. In the Lord Theological Seminary, a group of disciples was moved. Oracle's immortal scripture? Lin Tianling narrowed his eyes slightly. Naturally, he heard the words of the disciples in the Lord Theological Seminary. This technique seemed to be similar to the Sun Nirvana technique. On the opposite side, Xiao had already reformed his body. His eyes became extremely threatening, and his head of black hair danced wildly. "You guys are very good." He looked at Lin Tianyi and the others with a cold face, giving off a sense of ferocity. "You don't have to say that. Lord Crocodile and the others are very good." Whooshing Crocodile sneered, and the Great Five Elements technique pressed down again. "That's right. How about the third on the ranking of 100 immortals? So what if you have the 5 elements body? So what if you've bathed in phoenix blood? Even if I can't kill you today, I'll make you lose face, you scum." White Tiger scolded, and the vision in his sea of consciousness propped up. A divine tiger appeared, roaring and charging directly at Xiao. By Ziki, Yang Qi, Fanning Xiong, Ling Yun, and the others also attacked together, each of them bombarding with deadly divine techniques. Lin Tianling stepped forward, and the immortal Tao reincarnation diagram trembled and buzzed. He waved the heaven-defying sword scripture and attacked Xiao. Oracle's immortal scripture protection. Your attacks are useless. Today, all of you will die, Xiao said coldly, and the Oracle's immortal scripture was activated. Blue divine light protected his body, and he also supported a great technique to attack Lin Tianling. Lin Tianwei squinted, and blood-red flames appeared outside her body. The Sun's Nirvana technique was activated, and the blood-red flames turned into killing light, which merged into the Chaos Emperor's fist, heaven-defying sword radiance, immortal Tao reincarnation diagram, and by Ziki and the others' great techniques. They attacked Xiao together. In the blink of an eye, by Ziki and the others' great techniques fell in front of Xiao. Lin Tianling's immortal Tao reincarnation diagram crushed Xiao secret attacks, and together with the Chaos Emperor's fist radiance and heaven-defying sword radiance, they landed steadily on Xiao. Puff! Blood splattered, and Xiao was immediately sent flying. Half of his body directly exploded, and it was a shocking sight. "It's useless." Xiao eyes were cold, and blue divine light surrounded his body. The Oracle's immortal scripture was activated and began to heal his injured body. Chapter 1780. Xiao expression changed when he realized that the indestructible godly scripture couldn't be used. "What did you do?" He looked at Lin Tian and said coldly. He didn't know why the indestructible godly scripture couldn't be used at this moment, but he instinctively felt that it had something to do with Lin Tian. "Take a guess." Lin Tianling smiled. As he spoke, he directly pressed forward and blasted out another Chaos Emperor fist. In fact, just as Xiao had guessed, the indestructible godly scripture couldn't be used at this moment was indeed related to him. Previously, he felt that the indestructible godly scripture and the Sun's Nirvana technique seemed to have the same principle. So he used the Sun's Nirvana technique to merge the reverse power of the Sun's Nirvana technique into his, and by Ziki's Abhijna technique, to neutralize and suppress the effects of the indestructible godly scripture. The result was very successful. At this moment, Xiao indestructible godly scripture was completely useless. Crack! As his fist pressed down, the surrounding space immediately collapsed. At the same time, By Ziki and the others' Abhijna technique pressed down again, causing the surrounding space to rumble and shake. Chio Chinma's black hair danced wildly, giving off a ferocious feeling. He quickly retreated. This was because the group's combined attack was very frightening. "Why are you running?" Lin Tian mocked. He propped up the 5 lightning divine domain and appeared behind Chio Chinma in the next moment, pressing down with another fist. With a dong sound, as he punched out, the surrounding space trembled and shattered on the spot. In the next moment, this fist, combined with the Abhijna technique of Baiziki and the others, landed directly on Chio Chinma's body. Blood splattered. The powerful fist directly sent Chio Chinma flying, and half of his body exploded on the spot. Lin Tian's footsteps didn't change. He took another step forward, and the reincarnation diagram, the 4-symbol seal, and the sea of consciousness propped up together, erupting with monstrous divine power that pressed down on Chio Chinma. "Fight him one-on-one!" Whooshing Crocodile shouted, and the great 5 elements technique was activated again. At the same time, Baiziki and the others unleashed their most powerful divine abilities. Violent divine power sealed the space around them. Chio Chinma was trapped inside, and he was in a very difficult situation. Although he had propped up the powerful king's region and his sea of consciousness, he couldn't stop Lin Tianyi and the rest. After all, Lin Tian and little Taichu weren't weaker than him. Baiziki and the rest weren't simple either. With such a group of people working together, it wouldn't be a problem to kill a middle-stage true god. Inside the Lord Theological Seminary, the Imperial Courtyard disciples were all shocked. The powerful Chio Chinma was actually being ganged up on. Even Ai Yao Yao was a little flabbergasted. These guys are really boom. Outside the Lord Theological Seminary, divine light rumbled and divine power vibrated. The space around them was constantly collapsing, and blood was constantly splashing out. Chio Chinma was shattered again and again, but his spirit was still immortal. He reformed his physical body again and again. Even if the godly evolution immortality scripture couldn't be used, he still had a terrifying recovery ability. "This bastard is really good at taking a beating." Whooshing Crocodile ground his teeth. As he spoke, he used the great 5 elements technique again. Lin Tian propped up the immortal Tao reincarnation diagram, and at the same time, the immortal Emperor Pagoda released its divine power. Vast and mighty immortal light pressed down together. With a poof, Chio Chinma was shattered again, and his aura weakened a lot. "Soon, I'll kill all of you." He reformed his physical body again, and in the blink of an eye, a sky full of dark light interweaved, and he silently disappeared on the spot. He didn't expect Lin Tian to be so powerful that he wasn't weaker than him at all, and little Taichu wasn't weaker than him either. In addition, Baiziki and the others were attacking him together. The godly evolution immortality scripture had lost its effect, and he really couldn't stop them. And this scene shocked all the disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary. That Chio Chinma, the 5 elements imperial body, ranked 3rd on the 100 Immortals ranking, actually escaped like Yi Inshang and the others. These people had a look of disbelief. Outside the Lord Theological Seminary, divine light interweaved in the void, and Chio Chinma's figure seemed to have evaporated from this space. "Don't even think about escaping." Lin Tian Lung snorted and opened his delusion breaker eye. At the same time, he formed a seal with both hands, and suddenly, dense array patterns appeared in the space around them, directly sealing off all directions. With a bang, a figure was shaken out of the void. It was Chio Chinma. Chio Chinma's pupils constricted. "You boom." Lin Tian took a step forward, and without any nonsense, he directly pressed down with the Chaos Emperor fist. In the process of besieging Chio Chinma just now, he had already seen that Chio Chinma would definitely not be able to stop them, and he reckoned that Chio Chinma would escape. Therefore, while fighting, he engraved a group of space-sealing array patterns in the surroundings. And then the moment Chio Chinma tried to escape, he activated these array patterns and immediately cut off the space around them, directly intercepting Chio Chinma. "Kill! Kill him!" The whooshing crocodile howled. One word: kill. The white tiger howled. Both of them had reached the immortal king realm, and they were both primordial mutants. Moreover, they had tempered their bodies with all kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Now, although they were only at the early stage of the immortal king realm, their combat strength was very terrifying. When they used their divine skills, demonic lights surged. Thousand Yin, sword slash. Ling Yun shouted and slashed out a supreme technique. The dense sword intent seemed to want to crush the space around them. Bai Ziki directly merged the immortal Tao with the divine Cry Palace. Yang Qi merged the Sea of Consciousness with the immortal Tao. Fan Ingxiong merged the immortal Tao, immortal splitting mountain with the Sea of Consciousness, and Little Taichu directly supported the protection of the four spirits. And together, they pressed down on Qiu Qianma. With a rumbling sound, a truly terrifying destructive force surged, and in the first moment, the space around them was completely crushed. Ah! Qiu Qianma couldn't help but roar, and at the same time scream. He was directly crushed by this violent joint attack. Even his divine soul body suffered some injuries, and his aura became much weaker. With a whoosh, his divine soul escaped and stood on the side, quickly reforming into a physical body. His eyes were cold, like a poisonous snake, mercilessly staring at Lin Tian, Bai Ziki, and the others. "Oh my God, you're about to die, and you still dare to stare at your grandfathers like this, you arrogant scum," the white tiger scolded. Lin Tian didn't say any nonsense, and immediately took out the immortal Tao reincarnation map again. The mighty divine, holy, yang, and majestic directly enveloped Qiu Qianma. However, in the next moment, his heart suddenly jumped, and an intense sense of danger appeared in his heart. Immediately, he stopped and retreated more than 1,000 feet away. "Kid, what's wrong?" Whooshing Crocodile was puzzled. Immediately, in the next moment, a cold aura directly shrouded the space around them, as if it was going to freeze the space, causing it to tremble immediately. At the same time, Bai Ziki, Fan Ingxiong, Ling Yun, and the others were slightly shocked, and even the powerful Little Taichu was no exception. It was also at this time, high in the sky above Qiu Qianma's head, a figure shrouded in black light appeared, staring at Lin Tianyi and the others with deep and cold eyes, with a chill. "God of Heaven!" Chapter 1781. Lin Tian's heart skipped a beat as he looked at the sky. A heavenly god had appeared above Qiu Qianma's head. It was obvious that this heavenly god was here for Qiu Qianma. There must be a connection between the two of them. At the same time, Bai Ziki, Ling Yun, Fan Ingxiong, and the others were also shocked when they saw this figure. Even the other disciples of the Emperor Academy couldn't help but feel shocked. After all, heavenly god-level powerhouses were extremely rare in the immortal domain. And Yao Yao narrowed her eyes slightly. She was not shocked by the strength of this person. After all, she was a reincarnated person. Although she had lost a lot of her memories, she still vaguely remembered that she used to be more powerful than this person. Third forefather. At this moment, Qiu Qianma called out to the figure in the sky. As soon as these words were said, everyone in this place couldn't help but be moved. Third forefather? Qiu Qianma? He has a family? I've never heard of this before. Moreover, among the many known great powers in the immortal realms, other than the Emperor Academy, there doesn't seem to be any great powers that have a heavenly god realm expert. Even the strongest inheritance in the 12 immortal continents only has a half-step heavenly god. Yes, but how could this? The Imperial Courtyard disciples were shocked. That's not quite right. At this moment, another Imperial Courtyard disciple, who was a half-step immortal king, spoke. On the surface, apart from the Lord Theological Seminary, none of the major forces in the immortal realm have a heavenly god. However, is Qiu Qianma really from the immortal realm? Is he a successor saint from another macro world? For example, someone like Yi Yinshang. As soon as these words were spoken, all the cultivators in the area were visibly moved. Many of them looked at Qiu Qianma with flickering eyes. Indeed, for a long time, Everyone only knew that Xiao Qianma had the 5 elements king physique, was ranked 3rd on the ranking of 100 immortals, and had bathed in the divine phoenix blood. However, no one knew his true identity. They all thought that he was from the immortal realm. However, what was the truth? None of them really knew, but the higher-ups of the Lord Theological Seminary should know. However, the higher-ups of the Imperial Courtyard couldn't possibly reveal a person's identity for no reason. Could he really be the successor of some other great world? There's a heavenly deity in the clan. In the immortal realms, there's no such major clan. The only possibility is that there's a heavenly deity in the royal clan of some other major world. Many people were shocked. Outside the Lord Theological Seminary, Lin Tianyi and the others were also shocked. When they saw Xiao Qianma and the others, their eyes narrowed. Is he really a successor from another world? Wuxing Crocodile ground its teeth. The successor saint was the successor to the next realm master of a certain great world. There were only a few great worlds with royal families and only one race in them, such as the world of dead souls. Other great worlds did not have a realm lord or saint of succession, such as the immortal realm, and other great worlds did not have a realm lord or saint of succession. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. Looking at the scene before him, he was sure that Xiao Qianma was the successor saint of some great world. Retreat to the Imperial Courtyard, he said to Baiziki and the others in a deep voice. Now that a heavenly deity had appeared in this place, it was obviously related to Xiao Qianma. If they continued to stay outside the Lord Theological Seminary, it would be very dangerous. Immediately, the group retreated. Buzz! At this moment, the void vibrated. In the sky, the figure shrouded in black light snorted coldly and made his move. The light of divine power wrapped around his hand, blotting out the sky and the sun. It pressed down on Lin Tianyi and the others in a mighty manner. Lin Tian's expression changed. He immediately let out a low roar and spread out the 5 thunder divine territory. Then, he performed the duality steps and brought the group with him. In an instant, they crossed a great distance and arrived at the edge of the Lord Theological Seminary. Then they stepped directly into the Lord Theological Seminary. However, the figure shrouded in black light did not stop there. It went straight into the Lord Theological Seminary and imprisoned the space around Lin Tianyi and the others. It grabbed at them. Such a scene shocked all the disciples in the Imperial Courtyard. This person is attacking in the Imperial Courtyard? Many people trembled. Lin Tian's expression changed as well. He expected that the person shrouded in black light would attack them. He immediately called for Baiziki and the others to retreat into the Lord Theological Seminary and into the Imperial Courtyard. He thought that it was very safe, but he did not expect that the other party did not stop attacking. The giant hand reached into the Imperial Courtyard. This old fool! Wuxing Crocodile was furious. With a rumble, the space in all directions shook. The giant hand pressed down by the figure shrouded in black light had a very strong aura. Do you want to die? At this moment, an indifferent voice came from the depths of the Imperial Courtyard. As the voice came out, the giant hand that was pressing down on Lin Tian and the others was shattered into pieces. At the same time, the figure shrouded in black light was sent flying with a bang. The black light around his body dissipated, revealing a middle-aged man in a blood-red robe. Blood was gushing out of his mouth. Third forefather. Xiao Qianma was shocked and quickly flashed over. At the same time, the disciples in the Lord Theological Seminary were shocked. Lin Tian, Baiziki, and the others were also shocked. Just 2 words were enough to shatter the giant hand of a divine god and send him flying while coughing up blood. What kind of terrifying power was this? He's at least in the half-step divine king realm. Wuxing Crocodile looked into the depths of the Imperial Courtyard. Lin Tian's eyes flickered. He secretly thought that the Lord Theological Seminary was indeed worthy of being called the Lord Theological Seminary. There was really a super expert in it. Outside the Lord Theological Seminary, the middle-aged man in a blood-red robe looked into the depths of the Lord Theological Seminary. Blood was dripping from his mouth, and his eyes were full of fear. I didn't stop the attack in time just now, and it spread to your courtyard. Please forgive me." This person bowed slightly toward the depths of the imperial courtyard. He was not dissatisfied because he was injured. Instead, he took the initiative to apologize. "If you do it again, die." An indifferent voice came from the depths of the Lord Theological Seminary. There was no emotional fluctuation. Yes, I'll take my leave," the middle-aged man in a blood-red robe replied. He still did not dare to show any dissatisfaction. Cold sweat even appeared on his forehead. As soon as he finished speaking, he covered his chest and glanced coldly at Lin Tian and the others. He then asked Xiao Qianma to leave. Xiao Qianma looked at Lin Tianyi and the others with a cold gaze. Finally, his gaze fell on Lin Tian. "Remember, the primordial pagoda is mine. I'll leave it with you temporarily. After a few days, I'll take it back." Lin Tianling smiled and did not bother to respond. Chapter 1782. The White Tiger's words were full of ridicule. Qiao Qianma, who had already walked some distance away, couldn't help but stop. He turned around and looked at the White Tiger in the Lord Theological Seminary, his eyes cold and cruel. "You must die. No, I'll make you wish you were dead. TSK, if you have the guts, come and kill me now. I'll stand here and not move. If you don't come, you're my grandson." The White Tiger stood in the Lord Theological Seminary and shouted. In the surroundings, the crowd of Imperial Courtyard disciples was dumbfounded. Inwardly, they were thinking that this White Tiger's guts were really big, actually daring to mock Xiao Qianma time and time again. Xiao Qianma was extremely strong, not to mention that there was a heavenly god realm expert from the White Tiger clan present. How arrogant! Xiao Qianma's eyes were extremely cold. He glanced at the White Tiger and directly left. Now that the White Tiger was in the Lord Theological Seminary, he couldn't make a move there. "Let's go," the red-robed elder said. The void distorted slightly, and with a divine light, he brought Xiao Qianma and disappeared in the blink of an eye. "You run so fast, scum." The White Tiger clicked his tongue. Lin Tian didn't say anything. He raised his head and looked into the depths of the Lord Theological Seminary, then withdrew his gaze. "Let's go," he called out to Bai Ziki and the others, and returned to the residence of his group. Ni Yao Yao followed behind him. "You guys are really good at fighting in a group. Miss Yao Yao, we were fighting one-on-one. He fought all of us alone." Wuxing Crocodile corrected her. Ni Yao Yao gave it a sidelong glance. The group left and quickly arrived at their residence. "Get ready. The ancient site discovered by the Imperial Courtyard will be open soon." Lin Tiandao, Bai Ziki, and the rest nodded and began to make their own preparations. At the same time, some of them were sorting out their current cultivation. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Dong! On this day, a loud bell chime resounded in the Lord Theological Seminary. In the training field in the northwest of the Imperial God Academy, the Imperial Courtyard experts began to gather all the Imperial Courtyard disciples. Lin Tian and the others quickly arrived at the martial arts practice field. At this time, a dense crowd of figures had already gathered at the training field. There were about 5,000 people, and all of them were very vigorous. The weakest was at the celestial immortal realm. These were all disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary. Some came from the celestial realm, while others came from other worlds. When the group of people arrived at this place, Lin Tian immediately felt a few chilling murderous intents. He followed the murderous intents and saw Qiao Qianma, Yi Yinshang, Yuan Yunfu, and Lan Tianjin. Their gazes all fell on him. Yi Yinshang, Yuan Yunfu, and Lan Tianjin narrowed their eyes and looked at him like three poisonous snakes. Qiao Qianma, on the other hand, was domineering and overbearing. He directly made a throat-slitting gesture in the air, full of provocation. "These bastards are up to no good," Wuxing Crocodile sneered. "They all have their eyes on Brat Lin's primordial pagoda. It would be strange if they had any good intentions." Ling Yin rolled his eyes. Lin Tian looked at these people. Naturally, he knew that they were up to no good. However, his expression did not change at all. At this time, the crowd in this place became noisy. Not far away, a quiet young man walked over and stood silently in a corner of the training field. M.O. Byron, first on the ranking of 100 immortals, middle stage true god realm. At this time, many people's gazes fell on this young man named M.O. Byron. They were all in awe. Even Yi Yinshang, Lan Tianjin, and Yuan Yinfu were no exception. When they looked at this person, their eyes were very serious. Cho Chima's gaze moved away from Lin Tian and landed on M.O. Byron. His eyes were threatening and sharp, and there was a terrifying battle intent rising in them. The group of Lord Theological Seminary disciples beside them were shocked and quickly retreated. At this time, Lin Tian's gaze also fell on M.O. Byron. M.O. Byron was very quiet and even seemed a little unsociable. However, the aura on his body was very frightening. It was like a bottomless abyss that could devour everything. This person is terrifying. White Tiger's eyes narrowed at this time. Bai Ziki, Yang Qi, and the others were the same. At this time, when they looked at M.O. Byron, they could not help but be moved. It is said that he once killed an early-stage heaven god. And Ai Yao Yao said, she paused and said, some say that he has a terrifying king body. Some say that he has some kind of heaven-defying bloodline. However, I guess only the higher-ups of Lord Theological Seminary know the truth. Killed an early-stage heaven god? Wuxing Crocodile's eyes widened. Even Lin Tian, Bai Ziki, and the others were shocked. The higher the cultivation level, the greater the gap between the combat strength of a major realm and a small step. M.O. Byron was actually able to kill an early-stage heaven god with the cultivation of a mid-stage true god. This was somewhat terrifying and shocking. Very powerful, Lin Tian said in a deep voice. His eyes could not help but intertwine with a sharp light. It was also at this time that an old man in a white robe appeared in the martial arts arena. Get ready to be teleported together. The landing point is different, so there will be chaos. The old man said, if you have companions or friends, connect your divine power now so that it will not be scattered. I will give you 3 breaths of time. As soon as these words came out, Lin Tian and the others were all moved. Then they immediately connected the divine power of the group of people. At the same time, among the thousands of people, those who had companions or friends also connected their divine power at the first moment. Time's up. Let's go. The old man in the white robe said. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man struck out a hand seal. Instantly, the area was intertwined with patches of runes. The runes shone brightly and enveloped the thousands of disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary. In the next moment, they all disappeared from the imperial courtyard. Lin Tianji felt his vision darken. Then, not long after, a faint light appeared again. The group of people passed through the dark void and stepped on solid ground again. As far as the eye could see, what entered their eyes was a vast and boundless wasteland. The air was somewhat chilly, and there were even faint wisps of mist floating in some places. This is the ancient site? It's really a gloomy place. It's like a nest of 10,000 ghosts. Wuxing Crocodile said. After the imperial courtyard discovered this ancient site, the upper echelons used powerful methods to seal off this area and set up a teleportation array seal inside. After that, all of the imperial courtyard's disciples were teleported into this place as a training ground for the imperial courtyard's disciples. And Ai Yao Yao said, there are tombs of heavenly god-tier powerhouses here. Lin Tian nodded and began to look around. They were the only ones who had passed through the teleportation formation and landed in this place. He emitted a powerful divine thought. It was like an invisible air wave that rippled out in all directions, searching the area. Boom! Chapter 1783. The ground shook, and strands of eerie death aura surged. The ground also cracked open, and a rotten corpse crawled out. Its entire body was filled with oppressive qi. It's comparable to a peak heaven immortal. The group was slightly moved. They knew that this place was once the ancient tombs of an ancient clan in the immortal realm. Many corpses of that clan were buried here, and many evil spirits would be born. However, They did not expect that as soon as they entered this place, in a place where they did not even see a tomb, there would actually be a rotten corpse comparable to a peak heaven immortal crawling out from the ground. This was enough to show that this ancient site was very dangerous. There were many powerful evil creatures, and there were probably many of them. Roar! The rotten corpse let out a beast-like roar and pounced directly at Lin Tianyi and the others. Lin Tian flicked his finger, and a golden light flew out from his finger. It instantly approached the rotten corpse and pierced through its forehead. With a swish, black blood splattered out, and the rotten corpse fell to the ground. After all, this was only comparable to a peak heaven immortal, and Lin Tian was now a peak immortal king. It was very easy to deal with it. Where should we go now? Wuxing Crocodile asked. Looking around, although this space was gloomy, it was very big. For a moment, they really did not know where to go. Let's walk around first. We'll look around as we walk. Lin Tiandao. At that moment, the group of people was in the middle of it. They immediately left the place and walked down in a random direction. In the blink of an eye, 10 hours passed. In these 10 hours, they had traveled very far. Along the way, they encountered many evil creatures, but they were nothing. The strongest was only comparable to an early-stage immortal king, and they were all easily dealt with. Moreover, during this process, they also discovered many tombs. However, they were all very simple tombs, similar to the tombs in the mortal world. There was nothing valuable. Lin Tianyi and the others did not mind. There was plenty of time. They continued to walk down, exploring this space as they walked. Boom! At this moment, in the direction they were heading, a terrifying black pillar of Yin-Chi soared into the sky. There, as far as the eye could see, the sky was instantly dyed black. The aura of death surged like waves in that place. Lin Tianyi and the others were immediately moved. They all looked in that direction. Such a shocking aura of death. Could it be that a heavenly god's tomb has been discovered and opened? Wuxing Crocodile's eyes lit up. This scene was very unusual. It was very similar to the scene of Yin energy rushing out after a shocking tomb was discovered and opened. It was very familiar with this scene because it had entered many tombs with Lin Tianyi and seen this scene many times. It's possible. Lin Tian nodded. The Yin-Chi of death was just too dense. Looking at it from afar, he could feel chills running down his spine. If that was the case, it was very likely that the Yin-Chi had rushed out from the tomb of a heavenly god-tier powerhouse. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. The white tiger clenched its paws and stared excitedly at the place where the Yin-Chi of death was rising. Since it could possibly be the tomb of a heavenly god-tier powerhouse, then there would definitely be many shocking treasures inside. Let's go. Lin Tian nodded and called out to the group. Immediately, they headed towards the place where the Yin-Chi was rising. Their cultivation was not weak, and their speed was very fast. After about half an hour, they arrived at the place where the Yin-Chi was rising. As far as the eye could see, there was a huge ancient tomb in front of them. It was unknown how wide it was, but there were densely packed ancient runes engraved on it. At this moment, a corner of the ancient tomb collapsed. Billowing black, Yin-Chi rushed out from it, turning into a light pillar that shot up into the sky. Roar! The roar reverberated as it rushed out from the ancient tomb. Not long after, groups of Yin soldiers rushed out from it. These Yin soldiers were not ordinary Yin soldiers. Each of them had a terrifying Yin-Chi, and their pupils were blood red. There were at least 10,000 of them, and each of them was comparable to a golden, immortal powerhouse. I can't believe that this tomb has given birth to so many undead soldiers who are as strong as gold immortals. Isn't this a little too exaggerated? The white tiger's eyes widened. It was not a shocking thing for a tomb to have golden immortal level Yin soldiers. However, if there were more than 10,000 Yin soldiers that were comparable to golden immortals, then it was a little scary. According to this scene, even if there is a peak, true god, evil spirit inside, Lord Crocodile would believe it. The Wuxing Crocodile was also moved. Roar! Tens of thousands of Yin soldiers roared as if they had rushed out from the eternal underworld, charging forward with a vast Yin-Chi. In this place, the void shook as if it was going to collapse in the next moment. This kind of aura was a little terrifying. Whoosh! The sound of the air breaking rang. When Lin Tian and the others arrived, there were already many disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary in this place. At this moment, someone moved. He rushed directly towards the broken corner of the ancient tomb and slashed with his sword. In an instant, a large number of Yin soldiers were crushed and turned into ashes. Then, the sound of the air breaking continued to ring. The other disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary, who came to this place, also moved. All of them rushed into the tomb. They could all see that this ancient tomb was not ordinary and contained great treasures. Then, the Yin soldiers that rushed out of the ancient tomb were all killed in the blink of an eye. Black blood splattered all over the sky. In this regard, Lin Tianyi and the others were no exception. After all, the disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary were all geniuses. The weakest of them was at the divine, immortal level. It was simply too easy for them to kill a group of Yin soldiers that were comparable to golden immortals. Come, let's go in too. Lin Tiandao. As he spoke, he called by Ziki, Fanning Xiong, and the others to step directly into the broken gap of the ancient tomb. Soon, the group stepped into the ancient tomb through this gap. As soon as they entered the ancient tomb, the air suddenly became icy cold. Even someone as strong as Lin Tian felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. This ancient tomb is really not ordinary. Could it be that an ancestor of the ancient race is buried here? The white tiger muttered. It's hard to say, but in short, it's not simple. Lin Tiandao. At this time, they entered the ancient tomb. The space in the tomb was very wide, as if it had formed a world of its own. The tomb passages and walls inside were built with special ink spirit stones. Many places were engraved with very complicated and mysterious patterns. Hurry up! Find the tomb master's chamber. Whooshing crocodiles' eyes lit up. Generally speaking, the valuable treasures contained in the great tomb were placed in the tomb master's chamber. Let's search as we go, Lin Tian said. He looked around. There were many tomb passages in the tomb. He chose one at random and called for by Ziki, Fanning Xiong, Ling Yun, and the others to walk down. Soon they walked far away. The air in the tomb vaguely became colder. Chapter 1784. Hearing such a shrill scream, Lin Tianyi and the others couldn't help but be moved. One had to know that those who entered this ancient tomb were all disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary. The weakest was a celestial immortal, and all of them were geniuses. Geniuses of this level actually let out such a shrill scream after entering this ancient tomb. Almost in the next moment, in the passageway ahead, a young man covered in blood staggered over, his face full of horror. Save me! Save me! This person saw Lin Tian and the others and immediately called for help. It was also at this moment that a ghost claw with black nails reached out from the darkness and directly pierced through the man's chest. A boiling hot heart was grabbed out, and then the corpse was dragged into the darkness. An even more shrill scream came from there. Then, the scream disappeared, and the sound of bones being chewed could be heard. This scene made the scalps of the group go cold. Just now, the young man was a half-step immortal king, but he was killed so easily. They didn't even see what the evil in the darkness looked like. They only saw a ghost claw. It's at least an immortal king level evil, the white tiger said. The moment its words fell, blood splashed out from the darkness in front of them. The ghost claw from before reached out again, grabbing straight at Lin Tian and the others. Obviously, the evil in the darkness had discovered Lin Tianyi and the others, and at this time, the group of people was prey. The ghost claw was full of rotten flesh and had a foul smell. Its nails were more than 2 inches long, like 10 sharp divine swords. With a crack, the space in this place was directly cut open. In the blink of an eye, the ghost claw reached in front of Lin Tianyi and the others. Lin Tian raised his hand, interweaving golden divine light, and grabbed the ghost claw's wrist. Then, pure yang flame directly appeared. Now that he had reached the peak of the immortal king level, The pure yang flame evolved with his cultivation, and also had the power of the peak of the Immortal King level. Moreover, this kind of flame was able to suppress evil things, and in an instant, the ghost claw was burned to ashes. A mournful roar came from the darkness, like a wounded beast. The 10-feet-tall evil Een jumped out. At a glance, this evil Een had 3 heads, and it seemed to be slightly ugly. Its entire body was covered in black Een chi and baleful mist, and it caused the surrounding space to sizzle as it was corroded. Roar! It released a roar that was mixed with the stench of blood. Like a wild beast, it directly pounced towards a group of people. He's comparable to an intermediate immortal king. Lin Tian muttered to himself. As he spoke, he flicked his finger, and a ray of sword light shot out. With a poof, it shattered the evil slash. "Let's go," he said. An evil spirit that was comparable to an intermediate stage immortal king was really no big deal to him now. He called out to Baiziki and the others, and they walked along the pitch-black tomb path. Gradually, the air became colder and colder, as if it was going to freeze everything. Soon, waves of divine power surged in front of them, and many figures appeared in their field of vision. They were all disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary. Many powerful ghost soldiers and generals appeared in front of them, and these imperial courtyard disciples were using their divine powers to kill them. At this place, there was only one tomb path left in the ancient tomb, and it led straight to the depths of the ancient tomb. Roar! The evil Een ghosts roared. Many of them had gathered here, and all of them were very strong, and there were quite a number of immortal kings. There were about 100 disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary here, and all of them were strong. They quickly defeated a group of ghost soldiers. Whoosh! 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 The disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary were extremely fast, and they quickly rushed into the depths. Lin Tian called out to Baiziki and the others, and they also headed into the depths. As they walked into the depths of the tomb path, the Een chi in the air gradually became thicker, and gradually, a bloody mist floated out. The group of Imperial Courtyard disciples who were walking at the front suddenly stopped in their tracks. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Why did they all stop? What happened? Wuxing Crocodile asked curiously. Let's go and have a look. Lin Tian on Dao. He walked at the front and called out to the group of people. In front, the disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary saw him walking over, and they could not help but be shocked and quickly made way for him. Lin Tian's previous battle record was too terrifying. He could completely compete with Chou Qinma, who was ranked 3rd on the ranking of 100 immortals. Not many people would not be afraid of him. Lin Tian did not care about these people's fear. He walked straight to the front, and then his expression changed. As far as the eye could see, there was a large pit in front of them. The pit was full of blood, and it was intertwined with a very terrifying bloody smell. At the same time, in the pit full of blood, a stone coffin floated on the surface, surrounded by wisps of bloody mist. Seeing this scene, Baiziki and the others narrowed their eyes slightly. Who did this? Create such a blood pool and put a coffin in it? What are they trying to do? White Tiger stared at him. The scene in front of him was strange and ominous no matter how he looked at it. Lin Tian opened his divine eyes of illusion breaker, and dragon patterns intertwined in his eyes. He looked at the blood pool, and then his expression changed again. Leave this place, retreat. He directly shouted, and ordered the Imperial Courtyard's disciples here to leave. Moreover, he immediately brought Ling Yun and the others away. What's wrong with him? Why are we retreating? Many Imperial Courtyard disciples were puzzled. Then, in the next moment, a crisp crack sounded, and the stone coffin in the blood pool directly cracked open. With a boom, a monstrous aura of death surged, and a figure covered in red hair stepped out. Its eyes were blood red, and its limbs were covered in green scales. The evil aura it emitted was extremely terrifying, and it shook the void to the point of distorting. Immediately, all the Imperial Courtyard disciples here trembled as they sensed how terrifying this figure was. At the same time, They finally understood why Lin Tian had suddenly asked them to leave this place, and why they had retreated at the first possible moment. "Hurry up and leave!" Someone shouted and retreated at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, more than half of the Lord Theological Seminary disciples in this place retreated in the blink of an eye. It was also at this time that the red-haired corpse figure that stepped out of the stone coffin roared. The sound was like two pieces of glass rubbing against each other, and it was very ear-piercing. Puff, puff, puff. Some of the Lord Theological Seminary disciples who did not have time to retreat from the blood pool directly exploded. Billowing blood floated in the air, and the red-haired corpse figure opened its mouth and sucked it into its stomach. Such a scene made all the cultivators here tremble, and they were all intimidated by the red-haired corpse figure's aura. Even Lin Tian, who had discovered the figure in the stone coffin with his divine eyes of illusion breaker, was shocked. Although he had seen the red-haired corpse through the stone coffin with his divine eyes of illusion breaker and felt its horror, he did not expect its power to be so shocking. It's comparable to a half-step heavenly god expert. Chapter 1785. The figure that stepped out of the sarcophagus was covered in red hair. It looked like a blood-red demonic ape with a terrifying aura. Along with its loud roar, over 10 Imperial Courtyard disciples were shattered into pieces, and even their souls and flesh were devoured. Such a scene truly shocked everyone. "Retreat!" Someone shouted with a trembling voice. Whoosh! 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 The Imperial Courtyard disciples retreated at an even faster speed. They were all frightened by the red-haired, ancient corpse. Lin Tianyi and the others were also very fast. In the blink of an eye, they had retreated far away. Roar! The ancient corpse roared, and its eyes were terrifying. Its venomous gaze swept across the crowd and landed on Lin Tianyi and the others. Then it pounced on Lin Tian and the others. F***CK. There's so many of them. Why did it chase after us? The white tiger trembled. As the red-haired ancient corpse chased after them, the entire ancient tomb began to tremble. The other evil spirits also rushed out and followed the red-haired ancient corpse. It was as if they were following the red-haired ancient corpse's lead. It must have sensed that our blood is the strongest and strongest. That's why it chased after us. Lin Tian said in a deep voice. As he spoke, he waved his hand and cast the 5 heaven-shaking lightning art. A purple thunderbolt was shot out. This kind of thunderbolt was extremely effective against evil spirits. In the blink of an eye, it pressed down on the red-haired ancient corpse. However, the red-haired ancient corpse was too strong. The purple thunderbolt he cast was completely useless against it. Roar! The red-haired ancient corpse roared and sped up. It was mixed with rolling yin qi. It was extremely fast. Behind it, a group of yin soldiers followed. It was like a river of death, pressing down on Lin Tian and the others. Such a scene was undeniably terrifying. The group of people took action. Each of them cast their divine abilities and secret techniques and attacked behind them. They stopped the red-haired ancient corpse from getting closer and cleared the ordinary yin soldiers that followed it. Puff! 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 The ordinary yin soldiers were turned into ashes by the group of people's divine abilities. However, it was completely useless against the red-haired ancient corpse. All it could do was to slightly slow down the red-haired ancient corpse. Roar! With a roar, the red-haired ancient corpse took a step forward and appeared in front of Lin Tianyi's group in the blink of an eye. The surging aura of death seemed to be able to annihilate everything, terrifying to hear. Lin Tian's expression changed. He immediately activated the immortal Tao reincarnation diagram, interweaving its vastness and majesty as he faced the other party. With a boom, the immortal Tao reincarnation diagram landed on the red-haired ancient corpse, causing it to stagger. However, that was only for an instant. In the next moment, the red-haired ancient corpse pressed down on the group of people once more. Attack together, Lin Tian said in a low voice. The immortal Tao reincarnation diagram was raised again, making the space in all directions tremble as it attacked the opponent again. At the same time, Yao Yao and the others unleashed their strongest techniques to attack the red-haired ancient corpse. This time, the red-haired ancient corpse was knocked back dozens of feet away. Lin Tianyi and the others took this opportunity and quickly left. However, in the next moment, the surging death aura surged again, and the red-haired ancient corpse pounced toward the group of people again. F***CK, can't we find someone else to chase? Wuxing Crocodile said angrily. Lin Tian did not say anything. The group of people retreated at an even faster speed. The red-haired ancient corpse was too terrifying. If they fought it head-on, they would only be wiped out here even if they worked together. In the blink of an eye, they had retreated far away again. At this moment, the sound of steady footsteps could be heard in the darkness ahead. A young man walked over from there. Looking at the person, Lin Tian's expression changed immediately. At the same time, Baiziki and the others' expressions turned serious. The first on the ranking of 100 Immortals, M.O. Byron, also entered this ancient tomb? White Tiger said in a low voice. Almost as soon as it finished speaking, the red-haired ancient corpse behind them suddenly sped up with a whoosh. It charged past them and Lin Tianyi's group. At this moment, it did not care about them and went straight for M.O. Byron. It's really targeting people with rich blood auras. Wuxing Crocodile's eyelids twitched. M.O. Byron was at the mid-stage True God realm, and his blood aura was definitely richer than theirs. Now, the red-haired ancient corpse was charging toward M.O. Byron because of them. It was exactly as Lin Tian had guessed. Lin Tian stopped in his tracks and stared ahead. At this time, the red-haired ancient corpse's speed was frightening. In a flash, it was already in front of M.O. Byron. It let out an eerie roar, and the black fog around its body surged. For the first time, it reached out its corpse claw and grabbed at M.O. Byron. M.O. Byron was silent. There was no change in his expression, and his footsteps did not change. It was as if he did not see the attacking red-haired ancient corpse. He directly walked past it and was not hit by the corpse's ghost claw. His footsteps were still calm, and it was as if he did not see Lin Tian and the others. He walked past Lin Tianyi and the others. Behind them, the red-haired ancient corpse did not move. It was as if it was frozen. In the next moment, when M.O. Byron walked past Lin Tianyi and the others, the red-haired ancient corpse exploded into black ashes and dissipated. This. White Tiger trembled as he spoke, and all the hairs on his body stood on end. Beside him, Yao Yao, Baiziki, Yang Qi, and the others also turned pale. Even someone as powerful as Lin Tian could not help but feel his eyelids twitch. That red-furred ancient corpse's strength was comparable to a half-step heavenly god realm master. But when it attacked M.O. Byron simply walked past it. He didn't even see M.O. Byron make a move, but the red-furred ancient corpse was already destroyed. What kind of battle prowess was this? Wuxing Crocodile's eyes widened, and he could not help but swallow his saliva. The number 1 on the ranking of 100 Immortals. Rumor has it that he killed an early-stage heavenly god. He really lives up to his reputation. M.O. Byron's footsteps echoed in the tomb. His footsteps were steady as he strode into the depths of the ancient tomb. Soon, he disappeared into the distance. Lin Tian looked in that direction, and his eyes flickered. It was not until several breaths later that he calmed down. "Let's follow him," he said. "Follow him? What for?" White Tiger was slightly puzzled. Lin Tian gave it a sidelong glance. "What else can we do besides look for the treasures here?" White Tiger rolled its eyes. "I think we should forget about it. With M.O. Byron here, what can we get?" "Look at your useless face." Lin Tiandao glanced in the direction M.O. Byron left in. With his current strength, it would be very difficult for him to obtain ordinary treasures. My guess is that he must have some other reason for entering this tomb. He didn't come here for the treasures and burial items. Why do you say that? Upon hearing his words, White Tiger's eyes lit up. Wuxing Crocodile could not help but be slightly moved as well. "No reason. It's just my intuition." Lin Tiandao. After saying that, he beckoned the group and directly walked into the depths of the ancient tomb. Since he had already walked forward like this, the others naturally followed suit. Chapter 1786. There was a blood pool in an ancient tomb, and there was a stone coffin in it. No matter how one looked at it, it was not a coincidence. Lin Tiandao said, "It must have been left behind by the person who built the tomb to prevent the tomb from being invaded and destroyed. Ordinary emperors and generals in the mortal world would set up all kinds of traps in their tombs. As the tomb of a heavenly god-tier powerhouse, it was very normal for it to have such a setup." He called out to Baiziki and the others, and they continued to go deeper into the tomb. Soon, they passed by the blood pool from before. The blood water in the blood pool was intertwined with an extremely dense, murderous aura. The group did not pay it any attention and directly flew over, landing on the opposite side of the blood pool. "Let's go," Lin Tiandao said, and the group walked deeper into the ancient tomb. Soon an hour passed. In this hour, they encountered many evil spirits in this ancient tomb. The strongest one was comparable to a peak-stage immortal king, but it was not a big deal. Lin Tiandao easily dealt with them. At this time, the group's field of vision widened. A huge valley appeared in front of them. There were all kinds of ancient trees and strange rocks lying in the valley, intertwining with rays of light. In the east of the valley, a yellow wooden coffin was suspended in the air by a chain as thick as an arm. "That's the coffin of the tomb owner?" Whooshing Crocodile's eyes lit up. "It looks like it." Lin Tiandao. As he said this, he suddenly turned to look at the northwest of the valley. There was another person there, and it was Mo Byron. At this moment, his back was facing them. There was a dark pool intertwined with fiery light, and there was a shocking, scorching heat. At this moment, there was a piece of black metal soaking in the dark pool. Wisps of divine light surged out from Mo Byron's body, enveloping the black metal. Thousand-shade black metal. And Yao Yao was shocked. Lin Tiandao naturally recognized that the black metal was thousand-shade black metal, an extremely rare divine material for weapon refinement. Although it could not be compared to the ultimate weapon refinement material like the chaotic heavenly crystal, it was much stronger than other weapon refinement materials. The dark flame pond gathered the raging flames of heaven and earth, forming a land of fire. He came here because he sensed that land of fire and used it to forge the thousand-shade dark gold weapon. Lin Tian muttered to himself, "It's really as you guessed. He's not here for the treasures in the ancient tomb. He's really here for something else." The white tiger glared at him. At this time, the tomb owner's coffin was in that position, but when Mo Byron arrived, he didn't even look at it. He was focused on polishing the thousand-shade black gold with the flame lake, so much so that he didn't even notice Lin Tianyi and the others. Lin Tian looked at this person and paused for a moment. Then he looked at the coffin and beckoned by Ziki, Ling Yun, and the others over. Soon, the group arrived at the coffin. This coffin was rather large. Compared to an ordinary coffin, it was about 5 times larger. "I wonder what kind of treasures there are?" The white tiger was a little excited. Because of the red-haired ancient corpse, the other disciples of the Lord Theological Seminary who entered the ancient tomb were no longer here. Only their group and Mo Byron, who ranked first on the ranking of 100 Immortals, were here. Mo Byron obviously had no interest in the coffin, so everything in it was theirs. "Open it quickly." The whooshing crocodile's eyes lit up. Lin Tian stepped forward. First, he sized up the coffin with his delusion breaker, Divine Eye. After confirming that there was no danger, he cut off the chains that bound the coffin. Then, he used his divine power to hold the yellow wooden coffin and carefully took it down from the air. After confirming that there was no danger in the coffin, he opened the lid of the coffin. As soon as the lid was opened, all kinds of treasure lights intertwined and intertwined. Inside the coffin, there was the corpse of an old man. There was no death chi or in chi, and there was no corpse transformation. Around the corpse, there were all kinds of heavenly treasures. There were a total of 9 true divine weapons, shining brightly. 1,000 leaves immortal Ganoderma, And Ai Yao Yao's eyes flashed as she stared at the basin-sized immortal Ganoderma in the coffin. It's a rare treasure for anyone below the true god realm. Lin Tian Dao. Although the Thousand Leaves immortal Ganoderma was called Thousand Leaves, it didn't actually have 1,000 leaves. It was just that there were more leaves. It was born from extremely rich, immortal spiritual energy and the immortal Tao law. It was an amazing treasure that could directly increase one's cultivation. Glazed dragon fruit, vulture source immortal crystal, soul pearl plant. These are all good things. The whooshing crocodile stared at the glistening coffin. Of course, among them, the most valuable treasures were the 9 true god-level treasures. Lin Tian took out all the treasures and true divine weapons and distributed them to the others. Then he closed the lid of the coffin again and put the coffin back to its original place. They entered this place only for the treasures. Naturally, there was no need to damage the coffin and corpse of the tomb owner. Let's go and find a secluded place to refine. Lord Crocodile can directly step into the middle stage immortal king realm. The whooshing crocodile clicked his tongue and sighed. Speaking of which, it was unexpectedly easy to get these treasures this time. Lin Tian nodded. He glanced at Mo Byron, who was not far away, and called out to the group. They walked out of the ancient tomb. Then, when they were a few hundred feet away, he couldn't help but stop and look at Mo Byron again. In that place, the scorching heat in the flame pool was decreasing rapidly. More than half of the 1,000-shade black gold that Mo Byron was forging had melted. As the scorching heat in the flame pool decreased, it was difficult to continue melting. He couldn't help but frown. The 1,000-shade black gold is very hard. It's difficult for an ordinary heavenly god to melt it. It needs the flame power nurtured by heaven and earth to melt it. The flame power here has weakened, so it's difficult to completely melt the 1,000-shade black gold. If it can't be completely melted and shaped in one go, the 1,000-shade black gold will be wasted and lose its effectiveness. And Ai Yao Yao also saw this scene and said. Lin Tian looked at the flame pool and paused. He landed on the ground from the sky, and the dragon burial scripture began to circulate. Dense dragon patterns interwove and condensed into a small dragon burial array diagram. He threw it into the flame pool where Mo Byron was. In the blink of an eye, it sank to the bottom of the flame pool. In the next moment, with a boom, the burning power of the flame pool, which had been rapidly decreasing, began to rapidly rise. The 1,000-shade black gold, which had been unable to continue melting, began to melt under the heat of the flame pool. Mo Byron's furrowed brows relaxed. A glint flashed across his eyes as he looked in Lin Tian's direction. "Thank you," he said after a pause. He had his back to Lin Tian and the others, but his powerful divine instinct could sense everything here. He knew that Lin Tian had helped him and caused the scorching heat in the flame pool to rise rapidly. "You're welcome, Lin Tian Dao." The flame pool was a grand force of heaven and earth. The scorching heat was formed by borrowing the power of other grand forces around it. At this time, he entered the flame pool with the dragon burial array and forcibly absorbed the power of the earth veins in a wider area, evolving even more scorching heat, causing the scorching heat in the flame pool to rise rapidly. Chapter 1787. It was easy to tell the good and bad of some people with a single glance. Mo Byron was clearly such a person. He was very quiet, but he was not arrogant. Moreover, in this cruel cultivation world, Mo Byron clearly knew that Lin Tian had the primordial pagoda and that his strength was far greater than Lin Tian's, but he did not try to steal it. Lin Tian could clearly tell that this person was not bad. He looked at Mo Byron and nodded at him. He then called by Ziki, Fanning Xiong, and the other artists out. Mo Byron watched Lin Tian leave. After a pause, his gaze fell on the 1,000-shade black gold in the flame lake. Inside the flame pool, the 1,000-shade black gold was rapidly melting. Lin Tian and the others left the valley and followed the path they took to enter the ancient tomb. Soon, they arrived outside the ancient tomb. "Hurry up, find a secluded place to refine the immortal treasures inside," The whooshing crocodile said impatiently. Lin Tian nodded. There were quite a few low mountain ranges in the vicinity. He utilized his divine perception at the Immortal King realm, and he quickly found a concealed place in one of the mountain ranges. After that, he set up layer after layer of restriction formation markings before sitting down cross-legged. "Little guy, guard us," he said to the little Taichu. "Yeah." The little guy answered in a childish voice and then waited quietly at the side. "Let's start." The white tiger was very anxious. He took out a few glazed dragon fruits and a few soul pearl plants and started refining them using the ancient scripture of the demon clan. At the same time, Bai Ziki, Ling Yun, and the others also started to use the ancient scripture to refine the immortal treasures in their hands. Lin Tianwei took a deep breath and used the Heart Sutra of Sun to adjust his energy to the peak. Then, he took out a part of the 1,000 Leaves Immortal Ganoderma and a few pieces of Vulture Source Immortal Crystals and started refining them. Buzz! As he refined these immortal treasures, the energy on his body began to grow at an extremely fast speed. Golden divine light intertwined on the surface of his body and gradually became bright and dense. Even his Tao power became stronger. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Boom! Half a month later, on this day, a majestic force emerged from his body, creating a tyrannical hurricane around him. In the next moment, he opened his eyes, and 2 rays of light flashed in his eyes. "Half-step true God," he muttered to himself. In half a month, after refining the 1,000 Leaves Immortal Ganoderma and some other natural treasures, his cultivation base rose from the peak of the Immortal King realm to the half-step true God realm. He clenched his fists slightly. At this moment, he could feel how powerful he had become. His physique had obviously become more astonishing, and the divine power in his body had also become more vigorous. It was like the Milky Way was boiling and rolling. His combat strength was much stronger than before. "All right," he thought to himself. "It's still a little lacking." A helpless voice sounded. Beside him, Enai Yao Yao rolled her eyes. Among all the natural treasures she had obtained in the ancient tomb, only the 1,000 Leaves Immortal Ganoderma was useful to her. Lin Tian had also specially given her a lot of 1,000 Leaves Immortal Ganoderma. However, after refining the 1,000 Leaves Immortal Ganoderma that Lin Tian had given her, she was still unable to step into the true God realm. There was still a little distance between her and the true God realm. After all, the true God realm is a huge boundary between the Immortal King realm and the Immortal King realm. It's not that easy to reach it. Lin Tian on Dao. Enai Yao Yao rolled her eyes at him. Although most of my past memories are gone, I used to be far above the true God realm. I'm still very clear about this. Okay. I was just sighing casually. When Lin Tian heard this, he suddenly felt a little awkward. Through this period of interaction, he had unknowingly forgotten that Enai Yao Yao was a reincarnated person. He truly treated her as someone of the same generation. After hearing her sigh, he subconsciously said that. At this time, when he heard Enai Yao Yao's words, he felt a little ashamed. "I've also reached the Immortal King realm," Fanning Xiong said honestly. On the other side, Bai Ziki, Yang Qi, and the others' essence, energy, and spirit had all become stronger. They had all reached the mid-stage Immortal King realm. Everyone's strength had greatly increased. This is really a good place. Let's hurry up and find a few more Heavenly God realm ancient tombs. We can find the heavenly treasures inside. Maybe we can directly reach the true God realm in this place. The white tiger said as he tugged on his paw. Lin Tian nodded. It was rare that he felt the same way. After all, he had now reached the half-step true God realm. He was just a little bit away from stepping into the true God realm. He was looking forward to this and also hoped to find more heavenly treasures so that he could quickly step into the true God realm. "Let's go," he said. Immediately, he called for the group to leave this place. They walked out of the mountain range they were in and headed to other places. Let's go to places with dense Yin Qi and Death Qi. Whooshing Crocodile said. "Got it." Lin Tian nodded. This was a group of tombs. Therefore, The denser the death chi and evil chi was, the more likely it was the ancient tomb of an extremely powerful expert. Hence, the rare treasures contained within would be even more valuable. Speaking of which ancient clan's tomb was this? It actually occupies such a large area. White Tiger asked. This space was really vast. It was like a small world with no borders. However, this space was actually the tomb of an ancient clan. It was hard to imagine how powerful that ancient clan had been. I don't know. Lin Tian shook his head and looked at an eye Yao Yao. Do you know? Hearing his question, White Tiger, Whooshing Crocodile, and the others also turned to look at an eye Yao Yao. They were really curious about this. I know a little, an eye Yao Yao said. It said that it was a great clan with the surname Xian. At its peak, there was a divine emperor in charge. Divine emperor? So strong? Ling Yun was shocked, and Ai Yao Yao shook her head. In that era, it could only be considered a second-tier force in the immortal realm. After all, some of the great clans had divine emperors in charge, especially the Lord Theological Seminary. It was said that there were more than 7 divine emperors in that era. Oh, I've heard of this before. Ling Yun nodded and said, however, compared to the current immortal realm, if a great force had a divine emperor, it would definitely be the strongest force in the immortal realm. The Lord Theological Seminary probably doesn't even have a divine emperor in this era. As time passed, the number of cultivators in the cultivation world increased. However, compared to the ancient times, there were fewer and fewer experts. That's not necessarily true. And Ai Yao Yao said, the Lord Theological Seminary is very deep. There might really be a divine emperor in charge. It wouldn't be strange if there was a living fossil divine emperor in charge. Indeed, Lin Tiandao. He could also feel that the Lord Theological Seminary was unfathomable. It was hard to say how powerful it was now. Clang! Suddenly, the ear-piercing sound of swords rang out. In the distance, a dense rain of swords appeared. It carried a frightening, murderous intent as it slashed toward them. The sky trembled because of this rain of swords. The void was penetrated and shattered. Chapter 1788. Lin Tianyi and the others could not help but be moved by the dense rain of swords. These swords were not weak and were extremely powerful. However, although these swords were very strong, they did not make the group feel that they could not contend against them. Lin Tian raised his hand and directly swept out a large expanse of swords. The golden swords turned into a sheet in the blink of an eye and met the swords head-on. Clang! 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 The sound of swords clanged, and the golden swords filled the sky. They met the dense swords head-on, shattering pieces of the void. In an instant, the dense sword lights were all blocked and shattered by Ling Tian's sword light. However, just as the swords were shattered, the dozens of shattered swords turned into black fog, intertwining with a gloomy aura, causing Lin Tianyi and the others to tremble and their expressions to change. It's poisonous! And Ai Yao Yao was shocked. As the black fog appeared, their divine power became chaotic, and their limbs became somewhat numb. Lin Tian naturally also noticed the poisonous power intertwined in the black fog. He raised his hand and dispersed all the black fog, preventing more of it from entering his body. It was also at this time that 3 whooshing sounds were heard and 3 figures appeared in front of the group. They were Yi Yinshang, Lan Tianjin, and Yuan Yunfu, who were in the top 10 of the ranking of 100 immortals. As soon as they appeared, they immediately attacked, and divine light shook the clouds. Seal! Lan Tianjin laughed sinisterly and raised his hand to throw out a piece of celestial jade. As soon as this piece of celestial jade was thrown, a square light realm appeared with a boom, enveloping Lin Tian in an instant and directly sucking Lin Tian in. Meanwhile, Ai Yao Yao and the others were all blasted hundreds of feet away. The square light realm was more than 10,000 cubic meters. The moment it trapped Lin Tian, Lan Tianjin and the others also stepped into it, looking at Lin Tian with cold sneers. Lan Tianjin laughed sinisterly. Hand over the primordial pagoda obediently. That thing isn't suitable for you. Lin Tian glanced at Bai Ziqi's group, who had been blasted far away. They were all unharmed. Then, he glanced at the barrier that trapped them. In the end, his gaze landed on Lan Tianjin and the other two. His eyes were filled with coldness, and he did not try to hide his desire to kill. It was also at this time that the sound of something breaking through the air rang out. Bai Ziqi and the others who had been sent flying flew back. Seeing that Lin Tian was shrouded in a square barrier, they all began to attack the barrier. However, it was completely useless. The square barrier was terrifyingly sturdy. When the power of Bai Ziqi's group landed on it, not even the slightest ripple was produced. 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison, the core secret technique of Qi Yu World. And Yao Yao's eyes narrowed as she recognized the square barrier. She looked at Lan Tianjin. You're from the royal family of Qi Yu World? Lan Tianjin laughed sinisterly. It was engraved by the clan's elders in advance and branded in the immortal jade. It can be used once. Even a half-step, heavenly god tier expert cannot break it. Qi Yu World was also one of the great worlds around the immortal region. Lan Tianjin did not directly answer Yao Yao's last question, but he indirectly admitted it. Yeah. Little Taichu was furious. With a rumble, the 6-colored divine light surged. The 4 spirits' protection was displayed and bombarded the 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison. However, this full-force attack was still useless. You couldn't even move it when you were at your peak. Now that the corpse of mortal poison has entered your body, your combat power has been greatly weakened. Lan Tianjin continued to smile sinisterly. Then his gaze landed on Lin Tian. It's the same for you. With the corpse of mortal poison in your current state, your combat power is less than half of what it was at your peak. You're destined to die in this place. The primordial pagoda is destined to be ours. The corpse of mortal poison was the black fog from before. This kind of corpse of mortal poison could greatly weaken a cultivator's combat power for a certain period of time. It was not a big deal in itself. However, at this time, weakening Lin Tian's combat power for a certain period of time would do them no harm. It would make it easier for them to suppress Lin Tian and seize the primordial pagoda. As soon as he finished speaking, he, Yi Yinshang, and Yuan Yunfu entered the 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison and closed in on Lin Tian together. Seeing this scene, Bai Ziqi and the others were shocked, and they all attacked the 4 Crimson Emperor Divine Prison with all their strength. However, their combat power was not enough to destroy the 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison. Now that they were poisoned, their combat power was greatly weakened. It was even more difficult to break open the prison. Damn it! Ling Yun gritted his teeth, his expression ugly. Bai Ziqi and Yang Qi's expressions were ugly, but there was nothing they could do. They could only look ahead. Inside the 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison, Lan Tianjin, Yi Yinshang, and Yuan Yunfu closed in on Lin Tian. Tyrannical divine power revolved around the 3 of them. It was very intimidating. Lin Tian, who was trapped in the 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison, walked towards the 3 of them. His expression did not change at all. His gaze fell on Lan Tianjin. Are you so sure that the corpse of mortal poison will work on me? As soon as he finished speaking, his aura soared with a boom. Golden divine light surged, and his aura was oppressive. It did not weaken at all. He was still in his peak state. You! Lan Tianjin, Yi Yinshang, and Yuan Yunfu were shocked. First, they were shocked that the corpse of mortal poison had no effect on Lin Tian. Second, they were shocked by the divine power that Lin Tian was exuding. It was obvious that he had reached the half-step true immortal realm. Before this, from the battle between Lin Tian and Chou Qima, they already knew that Lin Tian had made a breakthrough from the mid-stage Immortal King realm to the peak of the Immortal King realm. They did not expect that Lin Tian's cultivation would make another breakthrough in such a short time. That guy is fine. That corpse of mortal poison did not work on him at all? White Tiger was shocked. Beside him, Yao Yao was also shocked. Only Ling Yun and Wuxing Crocodile, who were most familiar with Lin Tian, thought for a moment and quickly figured it out. Wuxing Crocodile said, It should be because that guy has mastered the medicine encyclopedia. Detoxification is one of his strengths. Moreover, I remember that many poisons in the world are useless against him. Among these old friends and comrades in the Ten Directions Heaven domain, it was no secret that Lin Tian had mastered all the arts of the 9 great heavenly masters. Moreover, many poisons were useless against Lin Tian. This was something that they all knew. In the 4 Crimson Divine Prison, Lin Tian looked at Yi Yinshang and the other 2 with an indifferent expression. The corpse immortal poison was useless against him because, as Wuxing Crocodile had said, many poisons in the world were useless against him. Moreover, he had mastered the medicine encyclopedia. Although the corpse immortal poison was not weak, it was nothing to him. He could easily detoxify it. He looked at the 3 of them and did not say anything. He took a step forward and strode towards them. As he took a step forward, there was a loud boom. A majestic force surged and shook the 3 of them. Chapter 1789. Boundless divine energy intertwined as Lin Tian took a simple step forward. The instant he knocked back Yi Yinshang, Lan Tianjin, and Yuan Yunfu, he directly punched out with the primal Chaos Emperor Fist. Boundless fist power intertwined as it bombarded the 3. Boom! With a loud bang, he activated the fist technique with his half-step True God cultivation base. His fist was much stronger than before, turning into a storm of divine power. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of Yi Yinshang and the other 2. Yi Yinshang and the other 2's faces changed. They immediately activated their divine power, condensing a defensive light curtain to block the attack. Crack! With a crisp sound, the divine power light screen that the 3 of them had put up was immediately shattered. Then, they were all sent flying away. Patches of blood floated in the air, which was very eye-catching. Such a scene made by Ziki, Fanning Xiong, and the others outside the 4 Crimson Emperor Divine Prison changed their expressions. They're all half-step true gods, but he's actually able to suppress the 3 of them in a 1 versus 3 situation. And Yao Yao's eyes lit up. That's a must. Wuxing Crocodile was not surprised at all, saying, at the same cultivation level, no one can be Lin Tian's opponent. Then it added, well, if you want to be strict, at the same cultivation level, there are only 2 people that I know who can absolutely suppress him. Among the people it knew, there were 2 who were so strong that words could not describe them. One was an old drunkard, and the other was Wu Yi. If those 2 were at the same cultivation level as Lin Tian, it estimated that even if Lin Tian was the strongest reincarnation body, he would still lose to those 2 in a fight. Those 2 were just too strong. That kind of power had completely exceeded the scope of what it could comprehend. Of course, there was one more person that it felt could absolutely suppress Lin Tian at the same cultivation level. That was the Human King. However, it had only heard of the Human King's name. It did not know him. Boom! Inside the 4 Crimson Emperor Divine Prison, divine light surged. Lin Tian stepped forward, turning into an immortal god descending to the world. With several bangs, Yi Yinshang, Lan Tianjin, and Yuan Yunfu were sent flying again. The 3 of them steadied themselves and activated their knowledge, sees anomalies, and several other great divine abilities and secret arts. Together, they pressed towards Lin Tian. Lin Tian's expression did not change. He continued to wave his Chaos Empyrean fist. Dong! A loud boom rang out as the surrounding void collapsed. The fist force landed on the knowledge, see anomalies, and several great divine abilities and secret techniques that the trio had summoned, instantly shattering them. Then, he took a step forward, disappearing with each step. The next moment, he appeared in front of Lan Tian's real body. You pa! Lin Tian raised his hand and slapped Lan Tianjin on the cheek. With a pu sound, half of Lan Tianjin's face was smashed, and teeth mixed with blood rolled out. At the same time, he raised his hand and waved the towering heaven sword scripture. A large expanse of sword light swept out with the momentum of sweeping through everything. Pooh! Pooh! Yi Yinshang and Yuan Yunfu were penetrated. Blood splattered everywhere, and their bodies almost exploded. Such a scene shocked by Zeke and the others outside the Four Crimson Emperor Divine Prison. His combat strength is much stronger than the three of them. The White Tiger gritted his teeth. In the same realm, Lin Tian was able to fight against three young sovereigns who were in the top 10 of the 100 Immortals ranking. He could be described as invincible in battle. In the Four Crimson Emperor Divine Prison, Lan Tianjin and the other two recovered their bodies at an extremely fast speed. Their faces were ugly. Now that Lin Tian had reached the half-step true immortal realm, they were also in the half-step true immortal realm. They had been in this realm for many years, but at this moment, they were no match for Lin Tian, who was also in the half-step true immortal realm. The gap was too big. To them, who were in the top 10 of the 100 Immortals ranking and were known as super geniuses, this was really unbearable. It was very unpleasant. However, the three of them were not ordinary people. This feeling was quickly suppressed, and their faces became cold again. They looked at each other and nodded slightly. Then, each of them took out a crimson baodan and swallowed it. Boom! In an instant, the aura of the three of them rose to an extremely frightening level. As the aura was released, Lin Tian's expression changed. At the same time, outside the Four Crimson Emperor Divine Prison, by Zeke, Fanning Xiong, and I Yao Yao, Ling Yun, and the others were also shocked. They have reached the true immortal realm. The White Tiger was shocked. Whooshing Crocodile looked at them and said in a deep voice, "They have not reached it." Just now, the three of them swallowed a pill each. They should have used that pill to temporarily raise their cultivation to the true immortal realm. Rumbling sounds could be heard as divine power surged in the Four Crimson Emperor Divine Prison, shaking the surroundings as if it was going to collapse everything. The primordial pagoda is ours. Today, you are destined to die, Lan Tianjin said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step forward and directly approached Lin Tian, waving the Yin Slaughter Divine Palm. At the same time, Yin Shang and Yuan Yunfu also attacked together. They controlled the power of the true immortal realm and attacked Lin Tian. Lin Tian retreated. His expression became very serious. "You have prepared well for the pagoda," he said coldly. As he said this, he directly held up the reincarnation diagram, and the majestic aura surged together. With his current cultivation level, he did not have to worry about facing an ordinary early-stage true immortal realm cultivator. However, the three of them were not ordinary people. Each of them had extremely powerful bloodlines. Although they were temporarily raised to the true immortal realm through the use of pills, and were not really in the true immortal realm, their combat strength was still terrifying. This level of battle prowess made him feel threatened. Boom! The reincarnation diagram surged up, covering all directions. Lan Tianjin snorted. His divine power moved, and he once again held up the abnormality in his sea of consciousness, directly pressing down on Lin Tian's reincarnation diagram. At the same time, Yuan Yunfu and Yi Yinshang also released the abnormalities in their seas of consciousness, attacking Lin Tian with their true immortal realm divine power. Hiss! With a soft sound, the reincarnation diagram was directly shattered by the abnormalities in their seas of consciousness. Moreover, the abnormalities in their seas of consciousness did not completely dissipate. There was still a part of them that continued to press down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian directly used the Thunder Immortal Tao and the 5 heaven-shaking thunders art to directly attack. Boom! With a loud sound, he used the 5 thunders divine technique to meet the remnant abnormalities in their seas of consciousness. And in the blink of an eye, they collided. Crack, crack, crack. The space around them crumbled inch by inch, and the remnant abnormalities in their seas of consciousness completely dissipated. At the same time, with a bang, Lin Tian was sent flying, crashing into the barrier of the 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison. Outside the 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison, Whooshing Crocodile and the others' expressions changed. "Yeah!" Little Taichu stared inside the 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison, anxious and angry. Chapter 1790. Lin Tian crashed into the barrier of the 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison. He felt as if all the bones in his body were about to fall apart. It was a heart-wrenching pain. He stabilized his body and used the nirvana of the sun technique to protect his body. He frowned at the 3 of them. Now, the 3 of them had temporarily stepped into the true God realm with special pills. To him, the threat was too great. After all, the 3 of them were not ordinary cultivators. With a rumble, divine power shook. Lan Tianjin, Yi Yinshang, and Yuan Yunfu interweaved with their true God power and pressed toward Lin Tian. Kill him, then take the primordial pagoda. Lan Tianjin laughed sinisterly. As soon as he finished speaking, the 3 of them attacked together. With their true God divine power, they activated their great divine powers and secret techniques, illuminating all directions. Lin Tian immediately felt a huge pressure. As the divine power of the 3 pressed down, he felt as if 3 destructive waves of the Milky Way were crashing down. His skin was a little cold. However, even so, he did not show any fear. The Heart Sutra of the Sun surged, and the reincarnation diagram of the monarch's domain was activated. He also activated the 4-symbol seal and other great techniques. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the reincarnation diagram and 4-symbol seal that he activated collided with the divine light of Yi Yinshang and the other 2. With a loud rumble, the space in all directions was annihilated. Lin Tian was directly sent flying. Blood overflowed from his mouth. This made him frown. The 3 of them were now much stronger than him. Boom! Just as he was thinking, a shocking divine power surged. Yuan Yunfu's expression was cold as he attacked again. He waved his palm and interweaved a terrifying divine light handprint. As soon as the divine light handprint was released, the space sealed by the 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison collapsed immediately. Obviously, this was not an ordinary palm, but a shocking great divine power. Then, almost at the same time, Yi Yinshang and Lan Tianjin also activated their powerful divine powers and attacked Lin Tian. Lin Tian's expression changed. He instantly sensed a terrifying danger. This was the first time he had faced such a huge threat after reaching the Immortal King realm. At this moment, he felt like a small boat on a stormy sea that could capsize and sink at any time. However, he still did not show the slightest hint of fear. On the contrary, a bright light appeared in his eyes. He seemed to have thought of something and had a special plan. "You can't kill me," he said coldly. With a boom, he faced the terrifying attacks of the 3 people. He no longer dodged and directly faced the 3 of them head-on. Boom! He raised his right hand and used the Chaos Emperor Fist's profound meaning with his current cultivation. His fist power was shocking. "You still dare to charge head-on?" Lan Tianjin sneered. As he spoke, divine power surged outside his body. The divine light's killing power became even more terrifying. The collapse of the surrounding space became even more severe. In this regard, Lin Tian's expression did not change at all. His eyes seemed a little deep, and he did not retreat at all. In the next moment, the Chaos Emperor Fist he wielded collided with the 3 divine powers. Boom! With a boom, his Chaos Emperor Fist collided with the 3 divine powers. The fist's radiance was annihilated on the spot. In the next moment, with a bang, he was sent flying. His right fist split open and blood flowed out. Even his body became tattered, and blood dyed his entire body red. Outside the 4 Crimson Emperor Divine Prison, Baiziki and the others watched this scene. They were very anxious, but there was nothing they could do. Lan Tianjin and the other 2's eyes were cold. Divine power intertwined as they stepped into the 4 Crimson Emperor Divine Prison and once again approached Lin Tian. At this moment, they had temporarily stepped into the true God realm with a special elixir. They did not care about Lin Tian at all and were very calm. Lin Tian stood up not far away and looked at the 3 expressionlessly. In his body, the sun's nirvana technique was quickly activated. There were blood-red flames jumping on the surface of his body, quickly healing his injured body. "You can still stand up? Not bad. Very powerful." Lan Tianjin sneered. Just now, although the 3 of them did not use their full strength, they did not hold back. If it were any other half-step true god, they would have died long ago. However, not only did Lin Tian not die, but he could also stand up, which surprised him. He won't be able to stand up soon. Yi Yinshang's eyes were cold. After saying this, he stepped forward. True god-level divine power surged as he charged toward Lin Tian again. Back then, Lin Tian had taken the cultivation materials that his subordinates had prepared for him and caused a ruckus in the world of dead souls. Not long ago, outside the Lord Theological Seminary, he had no choice but to escape. All of this made him lose face, so his desire to kill Lin Tian was very strong. Lin Tian's eyes were indifferent, neither happy nor sad. The sun's nirvana technique quickly healed his injured body, and he faced the other party head-on. Boom! On his body, a wave of tyrannical energy diffused. It turned into a heavenly light that covered half the sky. He did not hold back at all. He channeled the Sun Heart Sutra to the limit, and the nature immortal Tao, thunder immortal Tao, and nameless Tao law were all used. The reincarnation diagram, divining divine art, tying divine seal, and other grand arts appeared together, suppressing 8,000 regions. Boom! This was enough to kill an ordinary true god. It was very terrifying. The next moment he clashed with Yi Yinshang. All kinds of grand arts shook, forcing Yi Yinshang to take a step back. This shocked Yi Yinshang, Lan Tianjin, and Yuan Yunfu. By Ziki, Ni Yao Yao, and the others outside the Four Crimson Divine Prison were also shocked. Yi Yinshang had the dead soul bloodline, which was not inferior to a king body. Now, he had temporarily reached the true god level with a secret medicine, but Lin Tian had forced him to take a step back. This kind of battle posture was a bit shocking. Die! Yi Yinshang's eyes immediately became extremely cold. The dead soul great technique was supported, and his aura became even more powerful, intimidating others. Hong Long Long, the surrounding space was covered, and he ruthlessly pressed down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian's eyes were deep, radiance interweaving within them. The five lightning heaven-shaking art fought, turning into a streak of lightning as he faced the other party. Dong! At this time, his speed was extremely fast, instantly appearing in front of Yi Yinshang, a fist smashing down. In the blink of an eye, he collided with Yi Yinshang. Fist radiance, like shadows, and divine light, great techniques appeared one after another, interweaving in all directions. Hong! 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 Divine waves shook the soul, horrifying to hear. In the blink of an eye, several dozen breaths passed. Following a loud pung sound, Lin Tian was blasted flying, half of his body dripping with blood. Compared to Yi Yinshang, who reached the true god level through special pills and possessed the dead soul bloodline, his current fighting strength was still a bit weaker. After all, there was a great realm gap between them. Only, after being blasted flying, his expression still didn't change in the slightest. Instead, the Sun Heart Sutra operated even faster, the golden divine light around his body becoming denser, taking the initiative to charge at the other party. Yi Yinshang's eyes became even colder, ruthless and cruel. The light of dead souls surged, evil in force erupting, bombarding Lin Tian. Let's go as well, quickly end him. The Ascension pill's medicinal effect can't be maintained for too long, and it also has side effects. Lan Tianjin said. The Ascension pill he was talking about was precisely the pill the three of them had swallowed just now. Yuan Yinfu nodded. Immediately, the two stepped forward, once again attacking together with Yi Yinshang. In that instant, three waves of majestic power surged, the aura intimidating. Facing the three, Lin Tian was fearless, displaying all kinds of great techniques, facing the three head-on. Hong! 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 Four waves of divine might surged, extremely oppressive. Using a half-step true God-level cultivation to face the current us, your courage and boldness is commendable, but unfortunately, it's useless. Lan Tianjin sneered. Divine light surrounded his body, streaks of killing light divine techniques intertwined, as if a god had descended into the world. With a bang, Lin Tian was sent flying again, blood splattering everywhere. However, he did not fall, standing up again in the next moment. His eyes were indifferent, not caring about his current injuries at all. As soon as he stabilized his body, he pounced towards the three again. The nature immortal law and the thunder immortal law shook, the Tao might terrifying to the extreme, causing the surrounding space to boil. A futile struggle, Yuan Yunfu said coldly. Outside his body, divine chains of killing light evolved, and with a clattering sound, they whipped towards Lin Tian one after another. It was another great technique he used with his true god-level cultivation, extraordinary. Pooh! Without any surprise, Lin Tian was sent flying again. This time his injuries were even more serious. His tyrannical body was still in the air when it exploded with a pu sound, staining the surrounding void with blood. The next moment, his shattered flesh intertwined with blood-red flames. The Sun Nirvana technique activated, and in the blink of an eye, a body was reformed. Continue, he said coldly. The intertwining light in his eyes seemed even more profound, and he attacked the three again. He waved the Chaos Emperor fist, the illusion breaker opened, and the fist's power shook all directions. Yi Yinshang and the other two snorted coldly. Lin Tian's current combat strength was clearly inferior to the three of them, but he still took the initiative to attack them again and again, which made them feel very uncomfortable. They felt that Lin Tian was looking down on them, and their killing intent rose even stronger. In an instant, the three of them attacked again, each of them ruthless and merciless. Powerful killing light imprisoned all directions and surged towards Lin Tian. Pooh! Once again, Lin Tian was sent flying, his sturdy half-step true god body exploding with a pu sound, turning into a bloody mist that filled the sky. However, the bloody mist did not dissipate immediately. The blood-red flames flickered and then condensed again. Once again, his perfect physical body was reformed. Again, Lin Tianling said. He had just repaired his body, and his face was still a little pale, but he directly attacked the three of them again. Such an action undoubtedly made the eyes of Yuan Yunfu and the other two even colder. Boom! The three of them attacked together, and an even more astonishing power surged. The power of a true god spread out, and the killing power was even stronger than before. With a pu sound, Lin Tian was swept away, and his body was shattered again. However, what shocked Yuan Yunfu and the other two was that Lin Tian's vitality was so strong that it was a little shocking. His body was shattered again and again, but there was no sign of him dying. Instead, he stood up again and again. Kill, Lin Tian said coldly. The bloody aura intertwined, and the strange phenomenon in his sea of consciousness appeared, completely sealing Lin Tian's surroundings. At the same time, Yi Yinshang and Yuan Yunfu attacked together, and they all used very powerful techniques. Lin Tian waved the Chaos Emperor fist and used all kinds of divine techniques to meet the attack head-on. Pooh! Once again, his body was shattered, and he was sent flying again. However, his divine soul was not destroyed. The blood-red flames flickered, and soon his body was reformed. Again, he said coldly, and used the yin-yang steps to press on the three of them again. Yi Yinshang and the other two attacked at the same time. All kinds of immortal divine light intertwined, shaking the surroundings and mercilessly suppressing Lin Tian. Then, again and again, Lin Tian was shattered, but he was not destroyed, and he stood up again and again. This made Yi Yinshang and the other two frown deeper, and their eyes became even colder. He really has the life of a mantis, Lin Tian said coldly. Yi Yinshang's eyes also became colder, and at the same time, he frowned. His vitality seems to have become stronger. Chapter 1791. Lin Tian was clearly heavily injured, his complexion somewhat pale, but his life fluctuations were clearly stronger, causing Yi Yinshang, who sensed this, to frown. Indeed, Yuan Yunfu nodded, also feeling the change in Lin Tian. In short, quickly finish him off, Lan Tianjin said. Boom! The three of them activated their divine energy, and all kinds of great techniques appeared again, this time stronger than before. Lin Tian could feel the terrifying power of the great techniques, but his expression did not change at all. He faced the great techniques of the three of them head-on. Humph! Lan Tianjin snorted, once again suppressing another great technique, cooperating with Yin Yinshang and Yuan Yunfu to attack Lin Tian violently. With a rumble, the divine energy of the two sides collided, and the space of the four Crimson Emperor Divine prison shattered. Pooh! 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 Blood splattered, and Lin Tianyi's body was shattered again and again, blood splattering everywhere. However, Yi Yinshang and the other two frowned. This was because Lin Tian would be able to quickly repair his body every time he was shattered. Moreover, the speed at which his body was recovering was getting faster and faster. The aura of life and soul force he gave off was getting stronger and stronger. At the same time, it was becoming increasingly difficult for them to shatter Lin Tian's body. Die! The eyes of the three of them became colder, and Yi Yinshang said, combining his divine ability and the strange phenomenon in his sea of consciousness, bombarding Lin Tian. For a moment, terrifying divine power surged, as intimidating as a vast ocean. At this moment, Lin Tian's face became very pale, but his eyes shone with resplendent light. The life aura on his body became more and more powerful. He took the initiative to meet the attack head-on. Moreover, he did not counterattack. This scene caused everyone's expression to change. Taking the initiative to charge in, Yuan Yunfu frowned, and a bad feeling rose in his heart. At the same time, outside the Four Crimson Emperor Divine Prison, Bai Ziqi, Wuxing Crocodile, Ling Yun, and the others could not help but feel shocked. This guy, could it be? Ling Yun's eyes flashed and he thought of something. At this time, inside the Four Crimson Emperor Divine Prison, Lin Tian charged into the destructive energy of Yi Yinshang's divine ability and the strange phenomenon in his sea of consciousness, and his body directly shattered. Blood splattered in all directions. In the next moment, a gurgling sound was heard as blood-red flames danced. Amidst the destructive divine power, Lin Tian's shattered flesh and bones trembled once again. In the blink of an eye, he was reborn once again. Moreover, his life force became even stronger. Yi Yinshang's great technique had a trace of destruction god power that intertwined around him. In a flash, it was absorbed into his body. As this destructive energy, Lin Tian's body's expression, Lin Tian, Lin Tian, Lin Tian, you're using us? Yi Yinshang's eyes became extremely cold. Hearing this, Lin Tian and Yuan Lin Yinshang. They stared at Lin Tian, their eyes moved. So that's how it is. No wonder I felt that his actions were so strange. Yuan Lin Tian said darkly. At the same time, other than the Four Crimson Emperor Divine Elders, Bai Ziqi and the others heard Yi Yinshang's words, and their eyes turned cold. So it's like this, Ling Yun said. Previously, Lin Tian had used the heavenly tribulation to forcefully train himself twice, and they had all seen it. Therefore, when they saw Lin Tianyi take the initiative to charge at Yi Yinshang and the others, and even throw himself into the destructive divine energy of the three without any resistance, they had guessed that Lin Tian was using the destructive energy of the three to train himself like the heavenly tribulation. Who would have thought that it was indeed so? This guy is really bold. The white tiger swallowed its saliva. Facing three young supreme beings who had temporarily reached the true divinity realm, the disparity in strength was so great that it was almost unable to contend against them. Yet, Lin Tian was still able to forcefully use the destructive power of the three of them to force it to transform. This kind of courage was truly terrifying, causing its heart to palpitate. This guy, even an Ai Yao Yao, was moved. In the Four Crimson Emperor Divine Prison, after realizing what Lin Tian was doing, the faces of Yi Yinshang and the others turned even colder. Insolence! You're courting death! Yuan Yunfu said coldly. With a boom, true god-level divine energy surged, shaking the clouds, and crushed toward Lin Tian from dozens of different directions. Lin Tian's face was extremely pale at this moment. However, his expression did not change at all as he faced this destructive attack. He was fearless as he continued to face it head-on. His eyes were indifferent as he directly punched out with the Chaos Emperor fist. Dong! At this time, he was clearly heavily injured and he had used up a lot of his divine energy, but with this punch, the power of his fist was much stronger than when he was at his peak, and it shattered Yuan Yunfu's killing divine light. At the same time, Lin Tian coughed up blood again, but his physical body did not collapse. Come! His eyes were cold as he stepped forward again, closing in on Yuan Yunfu. At the same time, he waved the Towering Heaven Sword scripture, and the Towering Heaven Sword radiance spread in all directions, shrouding Yi Yinshang and Lan Tianjin. Yi Yinshang and Lan Tianjin's faces turned even colder as they both performed their great techniques. Boom! 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 Divine power surged in a vast and mighty manner, shattering expanses of the void. Lin Tian fought against 3 people by himself, and he was constantly injured and bleeding, but the battle became smoother and smoother. His life aura became denser, and his soul power and Dao power became stronger and stronger. Bang! He waved the Chaos Emperor fist, and the power of his fist became denser. While shattering the killing divine light of the 3 people, the 3 of them shook violently, and they could not help but take a step back. Blood gushed out of his mouth, and his face turned even paler. Continue. His eyes were cold and deep. With a boom, he summoned the pure yang flames, and the golden divine fire filled the divine prison. At the same time, he propped up the reincarnation map of the king's territory again, and it rumbled as it pressed down on Yi Yinshang and the other 2. Then he summoned the 4-symbol seal, the divining divine skill, the Taiyin divine seal, the medicine classic special skill, and the array path divine seal. Boom! In an instant, the surging divine power interweaved in the divine prison, and it was extremely fierce. Yi Yinshang, Lan Tianjin, and Yuan Yunfu's faces were very cold, and their eyes were filled with cold light. They used their temporary cultivation to cast a stronger great technique. Boom! The 2 sides collided again, and the killing light surged. With a bang, Lin Tian was sent flying, and he spat out a mouthful of blood, crashing into the light barrier of the 4 Red Emperor Divine Prison. At the same time, Yi Yinshang and the other 2, who had temporarily reached the True God realm, retreated dozens of feet away. Such a scene shocked Ling Yun and the others. Chapter 1792. Lin Tian's injuries were becoming more and more serious, but his life aura and soul power fluctuations were becoming stronger and stronger. His cultivation was also becoming stronger. This brat, whooshing crocodile, and the others were shocked. Lin Tian faced the encirclement of 3 young supreme beings who temporarily reached the true deity realm while being trapped, drawing on the destructive force of the 3 to temper himself, increasing his cultivation. This left everyone shocked. This type of action was just too shocking. One had to know that this was different from when they had fought vicious beasts to temper themselves. When they fought vicious beasts, they could retreat at any time, and they had little Taichu to protect them. Moreover, even with that kind of tempering, they had spent an extremely long time to increase their cultivation. But now, in such a short time, Lin Tian had used the destructive power of the 3 to forcefully stimulate his own origin, raising his cultivation to the peak of half-step true divinity realm. This was somewhat shocking. It's like he was born for battle. And Yao muttered, "Boom!" Within the 4 Scarlet Emperor Divine Prison, divine energy surged. Lin Tian's body was covered in blood as he stepped forward again, directly attacking Yi Yinshang and the others. Yi Yinshang and the others' expressions were not good, and their attacks were even fiercer. For a time, the space within the 4 Scarlet Emperor Divine Prison became even more tattered. Under the 4's destructive attacks, it would be difficult to restore in a short time. In the blink of an eye, a full 12 hours passed. 12 hours later, Lin Tian's injuries were even more serious, but his life aura, soul power, and cultivation were all stronger. Bang! In another collision, Lin Tian, covered in blood, broke through the three's destructive power and used the primal Chaos Emperor Fist to smash Yuan Yunfu's body, sending him flying more than 100 zhang away, blood splashing in the air. At the same time, he swept his leg, bringing along a divine radiance, and sent the other two flying as well. He can already injure those three from the front. Outside the Four Crimson Emperor Divine Prison, Ling Yun couldn't help but swallow his saliva. In the beginning, Lin Tian was completely suppressed by Yi Yinshang and the other two. His body was constantly being crushed. In just a short 12 hours, while he was constantly being injured, he was constantly improving himself. Now, he was already able to directly injure Yi Yinshang and the other two, who had temporarily reached the true God realm. This was truly shocking. Off to the side, Bai Ziki and Yang Qi's eyes shone brightly. At this point, they were no longer worried about Lin Tian. Instead, they were filled with fighting spirit because of Lin Tian's battle prowess. Continue. Inside the Four Red Emperor Divine Prison, Lin Tian was covered in blood, but his eyes were incomparably deep. He once again stepped towards Yi Yinshang and the others. Without any superfluous movements, he brandished the primal Chaos Emperor's fist. The other great techniques were also displayed one after another, divine light shocking the world. Yi Yinshang and the other two also attacked mercilessly, divine light crisscrossing. Boom, boom, boom. An intense confrontation ensued. Divine light suppressed the world. Lin Tian's attacks became smoother and smoother, and his cultivation became more and more tyrannical. Gradually, he was able to block the three of them by himself. In another confrontation, he threw out a punch, and the three of them coughed up blood and were sent flying. Of course, he himself was also sent flying dozens of feet away, fresh blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. At this point, his cultivation was already infinitely close to the true immortal realm. The Sun Nirvana technique was activated, and blood-red flames danced, quickly healing his injured body. He once again pressed towards the three of them. The primal Chaos Emperor's fist, the four-symbol seal, the soul transformation talisman, and other divine techniques were displayed one after another, bombarding the three of them and forcing them to retreat again and again. It's already difficult for those three to suppress him. Outside the Four Red Emperor Divine Prison, Ni Yao Yao's eyes flickered. Boom! Inside the Four Red Emperor Divine Prison, all kinds of divine light interweaved, shaking the void. Lin Tian fought the three of them by himself. Golden divine light surrounded his body, and his expression was cold, like a true god of war descending to the mortal world. Yi Yinshang and the other two attacked with all their strength. Their expressions became increasingly ugly, and at the same time, their eyes became colder and colder. Today you must die. The primordial pagoda is ours, Lan Tianjin said coldly. Lin Tian didn't say anything, but his eyes were cold and deep. All kinds of divine techniques were used one after another, bombarding the three of them. His attacks became more and more powerful, and his aura became more and more powerful. Yi Yinshang and the other two were constantly sent flying. You guys can't do it. His voice was cold. At this moment, his aura rose to a peak state. He stepped forward, and the primal Chaos Emperor's fist suppressed the world. Lan Tianjin and the other two raised a divine light screen to defend, but it was instantly shattered by Lin Tian's fist. Lan Tianjin raised his hand, and a treasure bottle with countless Tao patterns appeared. He directly raised his hand and threw it at Lin Tian. The treasure bottle interweaved with a dim light, and the Tao light was also very dense. Lin Tian's fist didn't change at all. It landed on the treasure bottle in the blink of an eye, and with a crack, it shattered. It was also at this time that human figures appeared from the shattered treasure bottle. There were old men, young women, and infants who were still in swaddling clothes. In the blink of an eye, they fell under the power of his fist. Poof! 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 Bloody mists exploded one after another. There were at least 100,000 figures in the vase, and all of them were ordinary mortals. They exploded one by one under the might of his fists. Some of them had expressions of terror in the instant before they died, and then they were annihilated in an instant. Seeing this scene, Ziki and the others all paled. Lin Tian trembled violently, and his eyes couldn't help but widen. He was completely stunned. He would never have thought that there would be more than 100,000 ordinary humans in the bottle that Lan Tianjin took out. In an instant, more than 100,000 ordinary mortals had all died under his hands. They all disappeared without a trace. Whoa! In the Four Crimson Emperor Divine Prison, waves of black wind blew, as if the souls of the 100,000 dead were howling in pain. Lin Tian trembled violently again, and directly coughed up a mouthful of essence blood. Ew. He looked at Lan Tianjin, and his body couldn't help but tremble. 180,000 living beings were wiped out in one punch. TSK, amazing. You're really strong. Lan Tianjin laughed sinisterly. Lin Tian trembled again, and his body trembled even more violently. 180,000 ordinary living beings, including old men in their 60s, young girls in their prime, and infants in their swaddling clothes, were killed by him with a single punch. The moment those people exploded, their terrified faces echoed in his mind. He couldn't help but step back and cough up another mouthful of essence blood. Damn it! He roared angrily. Since he started cultivating, he had killed many people, cultivators and mortals alike. It could be said that his hands were already stained with blood. However, before this, he didn't let down his conscience for every person he killed. He had a clear conscience for every person he killed. But now, a total of 180,000 ordinary living beings had no grudges with him. They were just ordinary old people, ordinary young girls, and ordinary infants. Yet, they were all destroyed by a single punch from him. To him, this was an unbearable burden. 180,000. 180,000 lives. What a huge number that was. Even though he had mistakenly killed those people because of Lan Tianjin's scheme, they had all died in his hands. At this moment, his divine power became chaotic. Kill. Lan Tianjin laughed sinisterly. He called Yi Yinshang and Yuan Yunfu together, and a majestic divine power directly attacked Lin Tian. 3 waves of divine power instantly landed in front of Lin Tian, directly breaking through the chaotic divine power outside Lin Tian's body and landing on him. With a bang, Lin Tian was sent flying, and more than half of his body directly shattered. Brother Yinshang, the weakness you provided is really useful. I didn't expect that just a few 100,000 ants could cause such a big reaction. Lan Tianjin sneered, and another divine light struck Lin Tian. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.